How's it going, everybody? This is Frank Cavone.
I'm Doug Quimby.
And we are Kinda Live.
Kinda Livin.
This is the Mirth Films Podcast, episode 33. Thank you all for tuning in. As you guys all know, you can all listen to the Kinda Live, Kinda Livin podcast on iTunes and Spotify. And we're here today with our special guest, Adam Patten.
What's going on, Mirth Films?
What's going on,
world?
man? How you doing?
I'm awesome. Thank you for having me here, guys.
That's awesome. So, we've got a lot to talk to you about.
So much.
And like
I'm gonna
we pretty much had
so much.
had a pre-podcast before we were even talking. Like,
That's true.
We just had to like shut ourselves off and just like to save it just for
Stop
you guys.
talking.
So we did make this episode last more than 2 minutes. But yeah, we have a lot to talk about. First, we just want to thank everybody who came out to It's a Gala at the Trap in Fort Anne, New York.
Thank you, guys.
It was our fancy party. We had a formal party, which was so much fun. We got to see all of our friends who all came out. We had a pretty awesome turnout. Big Time Kitty kicked major ass.
Oh my God, they really shredded.
They're awesome.
Time.
I don't know if you guys.
I have not encountered them yet, but I'm going to tell you the pictures that you took of them made them look like such badasses that I should go home. I'm going to go home and listen to them.
You should. So it's our good friends Dalton Wilson and Jeff Lemelson, who actually looks like Trey. His Instagram is lookalike Trey.
Yep.
I think he plays that. He plays one of the Allendock guitars, I think.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
like he plays like a Fred.
Okay,
and
a
then,
Fred. That might be what it is.
Yeah, so he played that, and first time like I saw those guys play, we were just filming a Mirth Films video, and never saw him live. This is our first time seeing him live,
Right on.
and he was playing a Strat at the time, and like. Dalton kind of plays like bass guitar, like almost like what is that? That fro Dokapon like side thing.
Mom and Dad.
He
Dude,
plays like a bass.
A baritone. It's called a
baritone.
baritone. And Mom and Dad is the friggin' most awesome,
They're
like
awesome.
unheard band out there. I showed them to Jeff Morad, and he loved them.
They're
so
awesome,
hopefully we'll
yeah.
be like seeing some of them around here.
I hope so.
I literally said to Jeff, if you bring them out here, I will lick your toes. And that's if you've ever
hear
met
that,
Jeff
Jeff?
Morad, yeah, Jeff, I will lick your toes if you get them out here.
Yeah, and so like he was playing guitar, but he had that sound, and like
Yeah.
it was just awesome. They opened up with like a sand fish cover, and it was a groovy sand.
Oh, yeah.
Like totally made up like. And like they're a guitar duo, so they have no drums, and they were playing that. Like they had like a nice backing track that they had on pedals, which was really cool. But it was just a good turnout. Everybody dressed up.
Dude.
Everybody like, and it was just
awesome.
like it's just like when like. It's like if you went to a Halloween party and like you were the only one there, fucking wore something. But no, it was just nice. And
No,
like,
it was funny. We even had like this one couple that like came in who like had no idea the event was even happening. Just like went to just have a beer
Drink
at the bar.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, what is going on? Like we explained the event. They're like,
Fancy party.
yeah. So like, oh. We'll be right back. They went, got dressed up, and then came back and like enjoyed the event.
You didn't tell me that they went home and got dressed.
Yeah, they went, yeah.
got
That
dressed.
is so cool. of them.
Came back.
Props to those people. That's
exactly.
awesome.
Yeah,
Like
and
full support.
full support, and like it was cool. We had like Doug made a Mirth Films TV, huge
Yep.
Mirth Films, like 3 foot by 3 foot TV. Cut it out so you could take pictures.
I
in
saw
there.
the pictures of that too. That's on your Instagram, right?
Yeah, it's on our
If you
Mirth
guys
Films.
don't follow the
us, yeah.
Instagram, follow the Instagram because there are some really awesome pictures on it. And like I remember seeing that and being like, that's such a cool idea considering it's your logo and like to incorporate the people coming to that event into your logo. I thought was so cool.
Dude, it was.
You guys are so cool. I love it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and just on that topic, shout out to Jess Turcott for designing the logo. She makes some awesome art. Go follow
her
her too.
out.
I think it's at Jess Turco on Instagram. But she just makes some awesome stuff, and then but yeah, and it's just cool because like we have a good relationship with the bar, and those guys are great. If you haven't ever been to the Trap and you're in the Adirondack area, please stop there. It's just a great hang, and like the inspiration behind it, just for you to know, it was like back in the day, and like what was it, like 2012, 2013.
Back in the day, way back then, saying this to a 32-year-old, way so far back. Yeah. I mean, I was still, I think, deep in my 20s at that point. But cool. Back in the day.
Yeah, then. Yeah.
Keep going.
So we basically our buddy Connor like was cool like. And we got to have this fancy party where everybody dressed up. It was all of our friends, just like having a house party, super young, and it was just like a good time because everybody did it. It made everybody like feel more like themselves because they were goofy and and like so we adapted that with our buddy's birthday party that he had. at the Trap a long time ago, and it was just a great time because the atmosphere that happened with it, and so we combined both the ideas that it's a gala, and it just like, I don't know. We want to do more stuff like that. Please, like, stay tuned. We have some great things in the works.
I heard some ideas, and the ideas are pretty cool. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned, and please subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't. It just it helps us, and also whenever we go live and you don't see when we're actually going live, because sometimes we switch days, you'll get automatically notified on your phone. So
just make sure you hit that bell when you subscribe.
Hit it.
Notifications.
Hit that bell.
Notifications. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we got some news. I'm just gonna bypass to the end, but I just want to get into just talking
Let's
to
do
you,
this.
Adam.
Let's jump
man.
in. Let's jump
so
in.
just recently, you guys performed at the Summit.
Yeah, it's our
What was it
festival.
like, man?
It was intense. It's like the one word I would use to describe it. It was really awesome to see. You know, I mean, playing music and like being out on the road again. Like I'm not out on the road a ton, but I've been out on the road a lot with these guys, and seeing some of these other bands out there and doing their thing, and to be able to like, number one, see them in our hometown. Number two, we don't get to see them a ton. Like you may bump into somebody and play with them for a night, and then you won't see them for months. You know what I mean? So like. Great bands, you know, like Chestnut Grove is one of my favorites. They're so rock and roll. Those guys are so awesome. If you haven't seen them or listened to them, they're great. They put on an amazing show there. The Rustic Overtones, I can't say enough about how like special to me, and I know it was special to the rest of the band for them to be there. I mean, we grew up in EQX land, and anybody who grew up in our area, anybody who can get 102.7 WEQX on there on any radio knows who those guys are. And so they're like, you know, they're like rock royalty in the area. You know what I mean? So it was so special for us to like have them there and to be able to like share this whole thing with them. Andy Frasco. I think I blew every bit of serotonin in my brain during their set. Like. It was just, they're just amazing. And, you know, those guys, we've played with them a bunch. You know, I've had the opportunity, I mean, I probably played 6 shows with them at this point, maybe. And they're just the most fun. They're the sweetest guys on the planet. Like, you will not find nicer people. And just the show that they put on is second to nobody.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think every band there was like, oh my God, I think we need to work on our stage show. You know what I mean? Like, because it's just one of those things that you see. I mean, and even as a band and even as somebody who plays music, it's just so amazing to see like the energy that they put out and like the fluidity of how they do things, how they move on stage, how they play their instruments, how they interact with each other, how they interact with the crowd. You know, watching Uncle Ernie Chang get up there and like, you know, get on top of the subs and just shred people's faces off was really amazing. Another awesome band that I was so happy was there was Annie in the Water. Those dudes are like, dude, those dudes are super awesome. Those dudes are super awesome. You know, I really like all of the members of that band. They're super nice guys. And actually, when we did the multi-ped set, when we were handing out the pudding, I gave some to the lead singer, Mike, I think is his name.
Mike, yeah.
Okay.
Mike Lasham, who was actually been on the podcast, episode 10.
Okay, I will check that out.
Check it out. Everybody check it out. Yeah.
He literally put the pudding on his face. Like I was
no way.
Dude, so I'm playing and like, you know, we're getting into it and we have the masks on and we have all that stuff on and we're just like getting down and I'm like probably looking at the band or something like that to see like kind of where we're going. And I look back and I see him just smeared all over his face, like, just like putting it all over his face. I was laughing so hard I stopped playing. It's the only time like I think I've ever like been overcome by anything enough to like not be able to continue playing my instrument for a minute because it was one of the funniest things I saw.
And he was just off stage?
Yeah, he was just standing in front of like literally right in front of me on stage, like where I was on stage. So that was the best. And again, watching their set was really awesome. I know I didn't get to see them do their set in Fenimore's.
It was packed.
That's what I heard, and I've seen some videos of it, but like I wish I had the chance to like be in that room for that because I heard so many great things about that. And that's the cool thing about this festival is that we do have the 2 separate rooms. So like, you know, it's completely different. You could see one band one night play one way and then that same band the next night in the other room do a completely different thing than you even thought they could do. So that like, I heard that set was awesome. Let's Be Leonard, their set was super killer. Such a great band.
It's so refreshing seeing them too.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't seen them a ton lately.
They're
but
so
like,
talented,
dude. They're some of the most talented guys out there. Like, I mean, Paul Gay on drums, like
He's so good. I love watching him specifically because he gets
He
just like
gets it,
Mateo,
dude.
but in a different form.
They're different players, but like I mean, they both just have so much passion behind them, and like they both have the ability behind them, and like when you see somebody like where their passion and their ability kind of meet, really in their element, and that's what I love watching Paul play. And all the guys in that band, like honestly, like there's nobody in that band that I don't love watching play. I mean, Connor Dunn, he's he was
the MVP of the weekend. Man.
That's what I keep hearing, the MVP of the weekend. And that's awesome. He played with a bunch of people throughout the festival. I mean, he plays with us a little bit here and there too. Which is nice. I love having Connor up on stage with us. I mean, there were just some really great sets. George Normandin and the East End Boys, they were really
East
really
End
good.
Boys, PJ Duo.
PJ Duo, that's what I was about to say next.
Johnny Sarris, shout
really
out,
good.
man. Yeah.
Matt Sirianni's band, Matthew Gregory. I think he just called it Matthew
Oh
Gregory.
my God!
Like
Such
now
a
again,
good band,
dude. That kid, I say kid. That again, probably 28-year-old dude has worked on this festival with us for the last couple of years. He's always been behind the scenes. He's done sound for us, and like helped us get set up and all that. He works close with Chuck. So
cool.
So like I think he worked for like Empire Audio or I forget which company he worked with, but it was nice to see him go from that role of like kind of being behind the scenes to coming up and being on stage and just being super comfortable and like just being an awesome musician and awesome part of the festival. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody.
I'm trying to think who else. Sly Fox and Hustler.
Dude, Sly Fox and Hustler.
Shout out to Sly just for laying down the sound.
Shout out to Sly just for being an awesome dude in general, but for also bringing such an awesome band. Again, like the keys player that plays with us right now, Dustin DeLuke, plays with him, and like he's another guy.
I love Dustin, by the way.
Dude, he's another
such
guy
a nice guy.
His passion and his ability and just his overall personality, like they all come together to just make such a wonderful human being. There are few people on this planet that I love as much as you, Dustin DeLuke. So if you're watching this, I love you, buddy.
Dustin.
He's awesome. He's awesome. And honestly, like out of our band, he's probably the person that I have the most continual and insane contact with. Like, dude, I could show you text messages that would blow your mind. He's just the weirdest, most awesome dude. I love Dustin. He's great. So again, to see Sly Fox and have him up on stage with him was awesome. And again, Sly is down at the Putnam Den, and that's where I knew him from, was from being down at Putnam Place, excuse me.
The Place.
So it was really cool to like be able to watch him play and do the thing that he loves, because that's the thing, is like there's so many musicians that I know that I see them at their place of work, at the coffee shop where they're serving coffee, or at the restaurant where they're serving drinks or serving food, and like I don't necessarily always get the opportunity to go see these people play, and like as a player,
you
like,
bring that,
I know how much how much of myself I put in, so to like see these people in their element putting in their thing is just such a cool, refreshing thing to see.
Totally. And like I want to just switch topics quick with Sly. Sly Fox and the Hustlers. If you're going to a Putnam Place show in Saratoga Springs, if you're not from the area and you happen to see a show there, go there. The guy most likely being there is Sly, and he's just awesome. And like he's opened up for Robin Trower, he's opened up for Kenny Wayne Shepherd.
Yeah.
He's a serious musician. He plays great music. Their bassist is super entertaining to watch.
Yeah, he's all over the stage.
And that's so cool that Dustin's playing with them now. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's again,
and Dustin rips, and like I something I really like was like when he was like okay, the Andy Frasco sets.
Yep.
Like seeing you guys at the Putnam Place, all being up on stage, Dustin up there, like holy shit. Like, and then like seeing Dustin up there at the summit, just like comfortable and like
that's who he is. He is the coolest cucumber going. I'm gonna tell you, dude. Like that kid is. Again, I say kid. He's a man. That man child.
Yeah.
He's as cool as he could be if he came out of a freezer. Like he's the coolest. I love him.
Oh yeah, and
this is going to be the I Love Dustin DeLuke podcast. It's all we're
we gotta change the name. But also, I was just gonna say Paradisa too.
Oh, Paradisa! How did I forget Paradisa? Yes, Paradisa.
I love James White, man.
To Paradisa, dude, they're awesome. I mean, they're another band that we had out that was out at Mile of Music with us, and I got to see a bunch of them play a bunch of times, and James White commands the stage.
Totally.
You know what I mean? He's got this like really cool feel. He's super rock and rolly. And again, he's a friend. He's somebody that I've known for I don't even know how many years at this point.
Yeah.
But to like see him, because again, like I knew him for so long before I saw him on a stage that it was refreshing to see him in that setting and see him where he feels most natural and feels like so comfortable.
Totally.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And like his guitar playing is so cool. Like it's one of those things that he's not like out there shredding and ripping, but like he's got these amazing guitar tones that he uses. He's really like he's got a lot of really good texture to his sound. And like I just love watching him play. And their bass player Matt, I'd never seen him play with a band before, so it was once we started seeing kind of Paradisa come up and come around, like it was nice to see him up there. Chris Becker, again,
of course.
I love that dude. Played in a band with him.
He had
and Paul Gay.
So great. Okay, Paul Gay, Chris Becker, and then there's this other dude that used to play in a band. I forgot his name. He played a Telecaster.
TJ Miller.
TJ.
Squeege, yeah.
And
Squeege.
they came up to Plattsburgh when I was going to school there, and Matt was doing this TV show at the school.
Yeah.
And shout out to Matt Barron also for working the Summit, man.
the Summit, yeah.
And but yeah, so they did they came up and played in the studio, and they played this gnarly no quarter. Like it was
dude.
so good.
That was our like.
You were in
cover.
that band too?
Yeah, that was AM Bodega.
AM Bodega. That was it. Okay, so let's before we get up there, it's just been so long, and like
no, I get it, dude.
But let's just start. Okay, the area where we grew up in, all of us, at least in like a 30-mile radius, it's not like the most populous areas. If you compare it to like Albany, that's probably the most populated
people
city.
in the 30 miles around us probably populate what's just in Albany itself. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
and like
sure.
so you grew up in the area, Glens Falls. You went to Queensbury High School.
Yes, I did.
So where in that time did you get introduced to at least playing music, or what was like, okay, this is something I might like?
Okay. That's interesting. I didn't know we were going to go there, but like I've actually I've thought about this like quite a bit, and like where did like music kind of come into my life? Something you may not know, my mom was a DJ on the radio, Jackie Donovan in the area. So that's my mom.
No way.
Yep, she just recently retired from radio, and she's doing another thing now. But so she was always a very big music fan. Very into like Phil Collins. I remember I used to have like one of those little tape players that had the microphone on it. You know what I mean? Those little like white tape players. You know what I mean, that you had as a kid. And I would listen to like Genesis Greatest Hits, and the other tape that I would listen to all the time. And this was my dad actually that brought this one into the mix was. Oh my gosh, the Beatles and Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Oh,
and
wow.
So to me, like, that's kind of where like music became music to me. And I remember my parents when I was really young, I would always be like, the stuff I remember watching as a kid was always sing-alongs, like these Disney sing-alongs. Like, dude, I could sing you The Ugly Bug Ball right now, and like, you probably don't even know what that is, but like, it's The Ugly Bug Ball, and like, that's what I grew up kind of like, and maybe it was just my parents being like, hey, sit down and watch this, and let me go do my thing. But like, I think that it kind of came from listening to those things. My mom, again, being, she was a musician herself. I think she played the flute when she was in like high school or something like that. But like, auditioned for Juilliard and stuff like that. And then, those two records in particular that always kind of stuck with me. And, just my parents were supportive of like what we wanted to do as kids. So like when I was like, I think I was like 10 years old. It was like the last day of my 5th grade year maybe. My mom brought my brother, who's 3 years older than I am, and myself to the guitar shop in town, and was like, pick an instrument. And so I was like,
wow, okay.
I want to play drums. And my mom was like, hell no.
Thinking of all the nightmares brewing in her brain. Yeah.
And like, I'm so, again, like, I'm thankful that she didn't, because that's a lot of gear to lug around. Like, I watch what Mateo goes through. It's still not as bad as Richie's A10 cab, but
and I'm sure you got to help them bring it in.
Oh yeah, always. That's part of the deal. But like, I wouldn't have wanted to be lugging around drums like as a younger musician, because then it's like, oh hey mom, can you give me a ride? I know I have to fill up your entire car with a drum set. So I ended up going with guitar. My brother went with bass guitar. I took lessons for probably like half a year.
What was your first guitar?
My first guitar was a Synsonics piece of crap.
Okay.
I don't know anything about it other than it was.
What guitar was it? Guitar Shop? North Country?
Yeah, it was North Country Piano and Guitar back when Bobby Hilton was a part of it.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're talking ancient history here, like, building the
I took a
pyramids
couple
and stuff.
lessons there, like back in 01.
Where'd you take them from?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. I was like
Okay.
6.
Right on.
Like, yeah.
That's it, it's funny what I hear, like, when you should get somebody into music. And, like, I think if I was... Oh, and again, like, I played French horn, too, when I was younger, before I started playing guitar. Like, when in the school band, I lived in New Jersey for a little while. I played French horn back then.
Cool.
But I think, you hear this debate of, like, oh, when should you get a kid into music? And, like, in my opinion, like, if you're trying to groom somebody to send them to Juilliard to be a classical musician, like, young, 4, 5 years old, once they can start kind of doing it. But, like, if you want a kid to be interested in music and to, like, grow their, like, to cultivate music, let them get into it when they get into it.
Yeah,
totally.
I mean, I don't think Rich started even playing guitar until maybe his mid-teens. Travis and I both started probably around 10, I think. I
So
wanna
you
say
grew
he
up with them?
Well, oh yeah, I went to school.
You
to
guys were
school with-
all Queensberry guys.
Yeah, we were all Queensberry guys. I mean, Travis and Mateo had a band, Horse in a Box. When I was in a band, Downfall, when we were in like maybe 9th grade, and we got our school to like let us throw rock and roll concerts again because there was a period where they like wouldn't let us do it, and
wow.
the bands kind of came together and sat down with the principal and like made it happen. So we kind of like grew next to each other for a long time. But Travis and I mean, dude, I remember being like maybe 11 years old and going to sleep over at Travis's, bringing my guitar over, and we would play guitars together.
Okay, so you guys were
this is
doing
stuff,
it young.
This is stuff a lot of people don't like know about, like how long I've known these dudes. Like me and Mateo were on a baseball team together when I may have been like 8 or 9 or something like that, and Chuck was our one of our coaches. You know what I mean? And I know I'm blowing your mind here, because imagine Chuck
blowing my
like
mind.
being one of the coaches.
I think he would be a great coach.
Dude, he was a coach. He's a great guy. I love Chuck. He's such a great guy. But yeah, I mean, dude, we literally grew up with each other. And I remember, so I was in that band Downfall, and
What type of band was it?
Oh my god, it was like terrible new metal, like lots of like
What
trap D9
what
chords.
year was this?
My god, this would have been 2000. Like 2000 maybe starting. I was probably 13.
Because I knew there was like a huge phase of like between like that era and like 2008, just like this punk, new metal, like
I mean it was when the
groove,
new metal-y thing was going on, lots of Korn, lots of Limp Bizkit. As you when you were younger, I was very into Metallica. There was a period of my life where, dude, I could have named you the track list of every single album. Like I remember buying Ride the Lightning on a cassette tape and listening to it while reading the book Holes when Holes came out.
Oh my
You know what I mean? So like
Jesus.
I was like, dude, I was huge into Metallica.
Okay, so just now that we're on this topic,
Yes.
Metallica, what is your favorite
My favorite what?
favorite album first?
My favorite. Oh, dude, you're gonna hate me when I say this.
No, I won't,
You're gonna-
because I grew up in the reload era.
Reload. And I know that it's
Oh my
so
god, Devil's
controversial.
Dance. There's so much good
There's
songs.
so many cool songs.
Carpe
Like,
Diem Baby.
Yeah.
Like,
And again, like
Yeah.
growing up, so like I had bought Ride the Lightning because I remember hearing, and this is, I don't know if you're going to be familiar with this, but the Spawn, remember the movie Spawn?
I know.
Spawn?
Yeah.
Okay.
is that a Marvel
So-
movie?
And I have no idea.
I
who
don't
made
think
it.
so.
But it was
There's a
like
character
John
name.
Leguizamo was in it.
Oh,
It was
okay.
like,
I have no idea.
It was older, maybe like
Yeah.
late 90s. And so on the Spawn soundtrack, what they did was they had like a band and like a DJ get together and do these songs. So they like remixed some old songs. They made some new songs. I mean, Filter and the Crystal Method did something on it, which was really cool. If you haven't checked out that album, it's really wild. Marilyn Manson and the Sneaker Pimps did something.
Okay.
Which, yeah,
Wow.
like, this is like it's like a really
That's
kind
cool.
of weird mix. But Metallica, and I forget who they did it with, but they did For Whom the Bell Tolls. And I remember hearing that, and like it's completely different on that record versus the original song. So I remember hearing that song and being like, whoa. And, I ended up going out and buying the tape for that record.
Yeah.
But my brother had the CD for Reload. So I grew up
sick.
listening to Reload and listening to Ride the Lightning. Now, so for me personally, like, song like The Memory Remains. MTV was so big for us back then.
Dude,
when
such a
MTV
good
like
song,
played
yeah.
music, you know what I mean? And they like So to see a video,
That's cool
of
that
this
you
rock
grew up
band,
in that era.
dude, it was.
That was awesome era, man.
It was an interesting era of music in general.
Yeah.
There were a lot of really cool bands that I say are really cool. Were really cool back then.
Chili Peppers were on fucking fire at that time.
Yeah, I mean, they were probably, in my opinion, this is my humble opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. I like a lot of their like early 90s stuff. Like for me, like that's the stuff that resonates with me. Under the Bridge.
One Hot Minute.
It's
Yeah.
an amazing song. Like a lot of that stuff from back then, I really, really liked. Some of the stuff that came out in like the early 2000s didn't really like click with me at first.
Totally get it.
But
Yep.
like I can go back and listen to it and really appreciate it. But again, at that point, I was listening to Limp Bizkit and Stained, and I'm so sorry for even saying those names on your podcast right now.
No, we love Limp Bizkit here.
Dude, what's your favorite Limp Bizkit song?
Dude, keep rolling.
Of course. There's no like deep tracks you like?
Yeah. Dude, give me a boiler or something. Come on. Yeah, no,
So with that influence, you guys were playing what you were listening to from and it's not a bad thing, mainstream, because mainstream at that time is like you had Lenny Kravitz, you had a bunch of
different stuff.
It wasn't just one thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
But so that's what you guys were going through.
That's what, like, my band in particular, like, we listened to a lot of Metallica, we listened to a lot of, I hate to say this, we listened to a lot of Godsmack.
You guys were doing the best you ever did.
I didn't know, I didn't know this at the time, like,
Yeah.
it took me a little while to catch on to this, but Godsmack was actually and the reason I didn't like Godsmack is because I loved Alice in Chains so much at the time, that I was like,
with you.
why would they name their band after, like, a song from another band?
Oh,
And
Godsmack is an Alice in Chains song?
yeah, and it's also the reason that they named it that is because they were an Alice in Chains tribute band. And so, like, that made it all make sense to me. And then I had seen this documentary of them where, like, we were talking about, like, podcasts earlier, where it, like, humanized them. It took them from these people that, like, were on a stage and were inaccessible, and it turned them into these people that were, like, the three of us sitting here. And, like, that for me, at the time, I was like, oh, well, maybe this band is kind of cool. And that's when I kind of dove into that stuff a little bit. So, like, what we were doing at the time was a lot of drop D, 9 chords, and, kind of
chugging.
Dude, I'll see if I can find some of that and see if I can get it too. Because it wasn't really chugging, like, it was kind of, like, melodic and stuff like that. But again, it's not stuff that I would play right now. But I'm so glad that I went through it and played it and, like, learned what I learned from being in that band. But as I was doing that, Mateo and Travis and a couple other people that we know from school were in this other band, Horse in a Box. A little bit different kind of thing. If I remember correctly, and I'm probably getting this wrong, and Travis, if you're watching this, or Mateo, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I think it was like pop punky.
Okay.
And so if I'm wrong, I apologize. If I'm not, good on you. But yeah, I think it was
sorry,
like,
not sorry.
yeah, no, I think
Aladdin.
it was like, I think it was like kind of pop punky, and like again, like both of our bands kind of like grew up together, and we all kind of grew up together. We would see each other at all of the, we played a lot of the same stuff, a lot of like Battle of the Bands. There was a lot of that stuff going on at that point, a lot of talent shows. We used to do this thing that, what I was telling you about, that we kind of came together to kind of throw, was the Spartapalooza thing. Chuck was doing sound for us back then.
Oh, cool.
Not much has changed, you know what I mean? So like, it's, we all kind of grew up doing the same thing together. And I'm glad that it went from that into this,
Absolutely, and it's a full circle for you guys.
Exactly.
That's really cool, dude.
Yeah.
And like it's just, and I just like, I love seeing it because how I've gotten to know you and everybody else.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to talk. I know
No,
you're kidding.
Let's talk ball factory. Let's talk ball factory.
Back in the day. Back in the day.
Back in the
Couple
day,
years ago.
like
Couple
5 years ago, maybe
6
5 years ago.
2013.
2012,
Actually, you know what? Yeah, probably
early
2013.
teens.
It was 2013 because we were making a lot of 2012 jokes at that point.
Yes, and like
Oh man.
we so I went to school at SUNY Plattsburgh, and I got to get to know Matt Barron very well. He lived in the same dorm hall I lived in. I met him during just orientation. I knew him as a kid who was like the only kid with a hat playing guitar at orientation, just like doing his thing.
Was it a fisherman's hat, or was
it was like a
that?
black hat?
Okay,
I don't know. He used to wear it
right.
all the time, but
Okay.
but it's Matt, and
That is Matt, yes.
and so we got to know each other. We ended up playing an open mic with each other. We did You Don't Love Me by the Allman Brothers.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And that was like, I was playing this BC Rich, Kerry King, like Slayer
Nice.
Warlock guitar. I loved it. At the
Nice.
time, I was like going through this like
Dude,
huge heavy metal phase.
We've all been there. I had a Flying V when I was younger. The singer in my band had a BC Rich Warlock. He had an Iceman at one point. Like, dude, we all went through it, you know?
Yeah, and it was great. I like we did a good job, and at least from what I thought. And so time went by, and then like he happened to be from Luzerne. I was from Lake George, and he ended up asking me, "Hey, do you want to make some extra money?" I was like, "Okay," because at the time you're in college, you're
Right,
sophomore
that
in
sounds
college,
iffy
like,
right there.
oh, we're just gonna be blowing up balls.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
like, what do you mean?
Okay.
Hey, blowing up balls.
That goes to your
Soccer balls.
You want to make some extra money blowing up some balls?
Yeah, soccer balls, whatever.
Yeah.
Just sporting goods. And I guess I should have left with that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so he asked me that, and he was like, $100 a day. You work 10 hours. I'll pick you up. I'll drop you off. You make $10 an hour. And to me, like 100, like,
I think he made.
and
more
knowing
than I
that, like, you would get a check
Yeah,
at the end of the
that's really
week was
good.
like a selling point.
did.
You know?
Yep.
And so I ended up going. I got to meet you.
Yep.
I got to meet Brad Laustrip. I got to meet
P-Low.
Brad. I got to meet obviously
If
Mateo.
you need to buy a home in the area right now, Brad
Poster
Laustrip.
down.
Oh my God, you fucking
Yeah,
posters.
yeah. If you got to buy a home, Brad Laustrip.
Yeah, Brad Laustrip is the guy to go to, man. He's the guy to go to.
And so then I ended up meeting obviously Chalk and like
Yep.
and while you're just like blowing up balls, I met you.
Yep.
And just everybody else. I don't think I've ever worked. I never worked with Rich or Travis, but
Okay.
and I forgot who else was there, but it was
Mateo was there,
it was a mindless job, and like you would get this like. What would you do? You get a box of balls, deflated balls, soccer balls, football, whatever, and like cut it open. You had an amount you had to hit, and like you dump it into this like
Basically
10
a
by
flipped
10
over
by 10 by
table,
10,
yeah.
with like barriers, and you had these hoses
Oh
with
my
with
God.
air.
And you'd fill them up,
Fill 'em.
and then you'd put them to the next station, which those people would then take the balls, and they would build the boxes and put the ball in the box.
What did you like doing better? The balls, right? Or
No, I liked building. So I don't know if you were there when we were building like the big displays. Like we
No.
would put like a tray down, and then we would fill it with like an assortment of balls, and then we'd put another tray on top of that, and fill it with an
And
assortment
then
of
wrap
balls,
it?
and then wrap it up.
Oh my
And that
God!
was, like,
Yeah, that's the best part.
That was my like. I like to be the person that was like taking the assembled products and organizing them, and then like getting the package done, moving the package, getting it done, and
Yeah.
whatever. Like that was my favorite part of it. I would say if there was a favorite part of working in the ball factory.
Yeah, I mean, but hey,
And we got to
honestly,
listen to
no.
awesome music, and we got to hang out.
Yeah,
we got to like, get to
okay,
know
that
people.
was the best part.
Yeah.
Getting to know like what you liked, hearing about your first experience at Mo. Well, not first experience, but like your Mo 2012 New Year's like experience.
Oh my
and,
god!
like,
Yeah, that was like I think that might have been the first year I went to see them for New Year's. Maybe
Wow,
maybe the
okay.
second. But
This is right before they started doing Albany too.
yeah, this was
Yeah.
back when they were doing
Portland, right?
Portland, yep. Portland,
State
Maine.
Theater?
State Theater in Portland, Maine. Man.
Fucking beautiful
Woo!
place, man.
That was a wild.
And
time.
shout out to Kyle Frisbee.
Frisbee.
He's one of our new contributing photographers, and he just covered Dark Star Orchestra at the State Theater, and just took
Are those
some
the pictures
awesome
that went up
shots.
today? Did those go up?
Yesterday,
Okay.
we put up some JRAD pictures today, but yesterday, yeah, he shot. So
Okay.
it was his first concert he's ever shot,
Right on.
and he got to shoot Dark Star
He
sold
did
out.
that was his first concert.
First
that he-
concert, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so shout out Kyle.
Yeah. Shout out
And,
to those good
Frisbee.
pictures.
Frisbee. We like that. Here's the thing, like with like some like okay, we have a pretty big team now. Like we have a team of like 20, 25,
Dude, I
and
was
like
surprised.
and
I didn't know.
it's great that because like it's just like it. Oh my god, like the more like a team aspect is the best aspect because not one can achieve by themselves, and like having somebody like a Kyle or like a Rob Schmidt who's just fucking everywhere, and like everywhere, like everywhere from like Locking to Peach to Modown to like everything.
So he gets to do all the fun stuff. He gets to do all the real.
He just
fun
sends us
stuff.
photos. He just sends
That's
us
awesome.
photos.
That's killer.
Just sends us photos. Shout
awesome.
out Rob. And like
Shout out Rob.
So like when you have that and like we have to like maintain the website, this, that, everything. It just like and make money.
Yeah.
Like it sucks, man. Sometimes
It's-
and like
many
so
hands
with
make
the
light work,
team,
you know?
it's just so great. And especially like to be able to like provide Kyle that opportunity because like he really wanted to do concert photography and like right now it's like to me the most important thing about having with like the thought of other people doing like contributing with Mirth Films is like what are you in it for? And like he's in it to really become a better photographer and like do like the right path. Like he takes it super seriously at where he is right now, one show in.
Dude,
shout
that's
out
awesome.
Kyle.
There's no better way to
Data
learn
frisbee.
something than
And
be in the line of fire.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
to put yourself in it, and like if it's something that you love to do, there's no better way to learn how to do that thing than to just be in it. you know?
exactly,
Most
and
definitely.
it's tough, like in the sense of like mentally, like hey, this isn't like I'm gonna be out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like something that I really like dealt with, and like I don't even want to get too deep into it, but
dive,
it's
Frank,
just
let's
like
dive.
when you, I don't know, when you put yourself in an uncomfortable position, that automatically makes it more comfortable the next time. And when you do that, it just helps you. Like even with this podcast, if you were to watch episode 1 to this one, like it would be like, what is going on here? Like, you know, like
That's how you grow, though. You,
and,
you
like,
learn by doing. You know?
yeah, and like and like and doing that now and like wanting to be where Kyle was and just shoot. It like we're blessed to have like worked with like a decent amount of people that like will allow us into some places to cover some things and like that is just so much fun.
It's been really like cool to watch you guys grow too, because again, I've known you for a while, and like I've known you for a little while, you know. But like you've grown from where I met you, and you've grown 100 times fold from where I met you. So like to watch you kind of get into your thing, and to get into that thing that you love, and to like do that thing that makes you glow is really cool for me to watch. You know what I mean? Because again, I've known you
Thanks,
for a
man.
long time, and I think you guys are doing a great
You
job.
never got rid of this fucking fly.
Dude, I've killed like 8 flies,
This dude-
man. Like, yo. All right, you guys don't even understand. Like, yo,
hell,
earlier today, I got
There's
home
more.
It was a swarm.
All right, I've killed 3 flies in the past week,
Right on.
and I don't. I thought there was only 2 to start with.
Dude, it's never just two.
It's oh my
Because if
god.
there's 2, they're gonna do it, and they're gonna make more flies, and
Yo.
we're gonna end up with 1,000.
Okay, so like, let me tell you guys.
We need to
So
get
like
this up.
earlier, we were making fucking tacos, and while like right before we started making tacos, like that fly was like bugging around, and we like just sat in our kitchen, just like, just like trying to get rid of this dude. Like I can't, like I don't know what to do anymore. About like I've been living with you for like a week. You're not paying rent. You need to do something. Please get out of my life.
Yeah.
Because like he'll come in and just dive bomb your like whole area, like he just did. Welcome to the Kind of Live, Kind of Living podcast. Fly.
You gotta give him a name.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to give him a name.
Yeah,
I don't want to
you
get
give it a name that
attached to
you
this
gotta
guy.
catch, yeah.
But yeah, like anyway, like Deanna made a comment. It was just like you're gonna be swanning him on the podcast, and I was like,
Nope.
no. But like he showed up, so to the fly. One
fly.
day
So, yeah,
I'll bring
cheers
you
to the
down.
fly and then Cliff
It's-
Burton too. So, what,
Sorry for that derailment.
Yeah, so where
going,
were
I
we
do
at?
want to bring up one story, and
Okay.
like, you know what? Maybe this is Mateo's story when he comes on the podcast. Please come on, Mateo. There was this one time we were all blowing up balls, and like, we were listening to EQX. Like, I don't know who Jeff Moorad is at this time. Have no clue. To me, he's this guy. who's
That's
on
on
the
you,
radio.
brother, because Jeff Moorad has been around.
I was living under a rock.
Yeah, right on.
Pix 106 kid.
No, there's
You
nothing
know,
wrong with that.
Uncle
Classic rock.
Vito.
Yep.
Like that was it, man. And then, so he's like, we're listening to EQX, and then he's just like, hold on, I'll be right back.
yeah.
So we're like, okay, and like, think nothing of it, and then all of a sudden, like, on EQX, Mateo.
Mateo's voice just starts coming out of the speaker.
Yeah, starts coming out of the speakers, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, I didn't realize, like, at the time, like, at the impact that Wild Adriatic had on the on just the EQX land, like rustic overtones did, and man, Jeff is well connected with a lot of people. He brings on a lot of great music, especially like, and a variety too. It's not just like
some
one
of the best
thing.
shows that
Like,
I've seen in the area have been stuff that EQX has brought, and like, you know, I made a post the other day. It was just recently their 35th year on the air, and
oh yeah, that's right.
we're
Okay, happy birthday!
Happy
Yeah.
birthday, EQX. They've done so much for this area as far as live music goes. They're so supportive of live music. They're without EQX, I don't think we would have the music scene that we have in the area because, number one, I don't think we would have grown up with the diversity of like cool alternative music. You know, again, like growing up listening to the rustic overtones, like that had an effect on what I thought musically. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So like, we're just so lucky to have those guys around.
And not just that, even like I just want to say, even for on the behalf of like the generation I grew up in, like Twiddle.
Yeah. Yep.
Twiddle was like, I don't know, just like hearing some of the things like Jeff had to say about them, like aside from just what they've done in this area and just being blessed. I know you too, like just seeing them at like 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
Playing the Fishtail Tavern. Playing like the smallest like.
Now they're at like Red Rocks.
Now they're playing Red Rocks. They have a Tumble Down Music Festival, and like that was all presented because of people like Jeff and people like Dave M.
That got behind it and that really pushed it, and that's what you need. That's what you need for like a good, healthy music scene is people to be down for the music, and those guys are down for the music. And again, you're not going to hear Twiddle every hour on EQX, you know what I mean? But like, Jeff loves them, and he will talk about them. And I mean, I did Jam and Toast with them.
Yeah. So how was that? Ago. How was Jam and Toast?
It was awesome. I mean,
what days? Hold on, before we get into it. What days?
Do this to me.
Sorry. Thursdays and Saturdays, right?
It's Thursday night from 9 to 11,
right?
And then they re-air Saturday morning from I
from
don't know
9
exactly.
to 11.
Is it 9 to 11?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they do re-air the show. They don't re-air it with like the same, like, you know, they do what's called Jam and Host, which is like somebody like me comes on and we hang out and we talk and I get to pick the playlist and we get to talk about like, you know, the different things about the bands and stuff and like why I picked a certain song or why I picked a certain band.
Yeah.
But that's an awesome thing to do because you end up with these like, you know, I put together a playlist and I actually have a Spotify playlist that I may be able to share with you guys that is the exact playlist that I played. So awesome. If you guys want to post that, we can totally do that.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Because it was
we'll put in the link.
Yeah, for me, that was such an awesome thing to be able to do was to like go through. I told you guys before we started doing this, I've been listening to a ton of podcasts lately. I've been listening to Your Mom's House, the Bertcast, and all the stuff related to that. I've been listening to Tiger Belly. So going from listening to a lot of people talking a lot to like almost like not being forced to go back into listening to a lot of music, but like having the ability to like, okay, I'm going to take the next 10 to 15 hours and listen to a ton of stuff because I want to pick the right things, you know? And
totally.
Like, it was nice to like
have control.
To have the control over it, but to also like reminisce about certain things too. Okay, you know, like there were reasons that I picked certain things. Like one of the songs that I picked was Jimmy Herring doing Within You Without You, which is off of that Beatles record, and like to hear Jimmy Herring play it, it's so amazing. You know what I mean? Like Ravi Shankar is applauding from his grave. He did it so well. Like, and again, the reason that I picked that was because that was on Sgt. Pepper, and that song in particular had such a resonating impact with me that like I felt it was something that I wanted to share that with people, and it's something that people wouldn't normally hear. You know, I picked a Twiddle song. I picked a Doink and Bonk. Which and I know everybody loves that song, and like, dude, it was just, you know, for me, when I saw Twiddle, probably one of the first handful of times on a relatively large stage. That was the day that I met the guys, and I heard them play that, and like Apples and a couple other really cool songs. But that was a festival that I ended up meeting all the guys from Dokapon.
What was this?
I'm sorry?
What was this, Friendly Gathering or something?
It was a festival that I will not name, and that should give you enough. You probably know what I'm talking about because I'm not going to give that shit anything.
Absolutely.
But I met the Dokapod guys and saw Dokapod for the first time.
Oh, shout out to Compa, man.
Dude, what a player.
Rob Compa is so good, man.
And he's actually. Do you follow his Instagram?
I do, and I love his solo.
Dude,
the same old damn thing or whatever.
Yeah.
It explains a lot.
Yeah, he is. In my opinion, Rob Compa is like one of the top players out there.
Totally.
Just as far as the way he thinks about music, and the way that he plays the guitar is just so cool to me. And again, so like that was my first experience with Dokapod. Turquoise, it was the first time I ever saw them. So like this was a big festival for me to like. It was the first time I saw Mom and Dad. You know, like it was the festival that like kind of introduced me to more music than the stuff that I had been listening to previously to that. And I actually went to that with.
What year was this festival?
I think that was 2012, maybe. It might have been 2013, but I think it was 2012 because that's kind of when my taste in music kind of changed. I worked at like a couple of years before that is kind of like when it started. And I dated this girl who was really into like Lotus and stuff like that. And like, you know, she would bring up like Bob Weir, and I had no idea who any of these people were. Like, she's like, I'm going to Lotus. And I'm like,
Bob Weir, Bob Rock. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm going to go listen to 311. So like,
yeah,
dude, again, still one of my favorite bands. And like, I would say they were guilty pleasure, but
metal,
I do not
man.
feel guilty.
They got a couple
That's
good
not
songs.
new metal. That's like, it's like white boy reggae meets like, I don't know. I don't know. It's.
I had this kid I worked with at Pizza Jerks, who like was a huge 311 and like
awesome.
and
They're
like
good.
Dispatch like
Dispatch is awesome too. I love
and like
Dispatch.
I respect that.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, I was sick of listening to 311 and shit like that. And he was like, you know, you need to learn what real music is. And he handed me this like stack of like burned CDs, right? And it was all Grateful Dead. And again, like when I was growing up, I heard, you know, driving that train high on cocaine, and like
of course,
I didn't,
hits.
and that stuff didn't like resonate with me because like. First off, the Grateful Dead live is a much different experience. Or like the Grateful Dead, like listening to like a live recording is so much different than listening to like the studio stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. I didn't know people like went to concerts and like taped these concerts, and I didn't know that improvisation was like a thing outside of jazz music. You know what I mean? I always looked at that as like that's what the jazz guys do. You know, but like I never heard it incorporated with like any type of rock and roll or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, and I remember when this hit me, dude. It was off the Europe. The Europe.
Europe 72.
Europe 72.
Yeah.
Okay. And this was it Europe 72?
Yeah, Europe 72.
Sorry. Nope. Sorry. I'm sorry. It was So Many Roads. They're like they had this
Too Many
compilation.
Roads, yeah.
So Many Roads compilation, and I remember the first song of them that struck a chord with me was Terrapin Station. When it gets to the end, and it just does that.
That's...
I remember listening to that and just being I immediately went home, and just like the lyrics of that song, like it's a really cool song. It's just an awesome song. So I remember going home that day, and I had like an Ibanez RG at home with like my Vox Valvetronics,
20,000 fret.
Yeah, thinnest like necks like this big, and like I went home and I just learned the whole song. I went home and I learned every part of that song that I could feasibly play at that point.
That's awesome, man.
And it was that day that he gave me the CDs. So then that's when that stuff kind of started like stirring for me. So that was probably like 2011, I would say, is when that stuff started stirring for me. And then I went out to that festival, which was probably, it might even have been 2011, maybe 2012, because I don't think I was working this job anymore. So it might have been 2012. And that just blew the doors off. My life was, from that festival, my life was changed. I'd never been to a festival. I've always been kind of an anxious person. So the thought of going to a festival for me, like I had friends that did it when I was in like, you know, like late high school, like college years. Totally. And that stuff for me was like, I can't go into a crowd. Like, what if I lose my friends and I can't find them and then I can't find my campsite? Like, that's the stuff that would go through my mind. So it would immediately lock me up and I wouldn't be able to go to these things. But after that festival, like you were saying earlier, like after the first time you do something and you feel a part of it, it becomes almost natural. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And that's what that festival did for me, was that made this whole thing feel natural. And I remember the person that I was with through that festival was somebody who's been super encouraging to me throughout my whole life, my whole musical life. He was one of the first people that I ever played a show with in another band. Okay. Just a super awesome dude. And I remember him saying to me, you know, at that point, because like at that point I'm like, okay, I can play guitar. You know, like, I want to do this. How do I do this? Yeah. And this person said to me, stay around the scene. Stay around these people. You know, you've met a lot of these people. Stay relevant, and something will eventually happen. You know what I mean? And like, so like that always kind of stuck in my mind. So I, you know, would go to festivals and I'd go to shows, and like it's a really wild thing. And I know you guys have probably seen this too. When you go to enough of these shows, like I was seeing Mo for a long time, and it got to a point with Mo where it was like 8 out of 10 people that I would bump into at a Mo show, I knew their first name. You know what I mean? Or
you get to see the same people.
Yeah, and like, you know, whether you're Chuck side, whether you're Al side, like, you know, like kind of the groups of people, you get to meet these people, the guys, you know, the guy selling pins, like, you know, you end up learning his name and hanging out, and like, it's it's such a community. Like it's
It
so
is.
wild how much of a
Yeah.
community it is. And
Totally.
again, from being outside of that and then being able to step into that and see that like this world that you thought was just this big loose random mishmash of stuff is really like a pretty tight-knit community.
Exactly.
You
And
know?
everybody has similar influences behind it all before coming in.
Exactly.
But before
Yeah.
getting into that, I do want to just address the chat. First of all, if you do want to ask Adam Patten any questions, let us know in the chat. But MacDill Media, just let us know some. Let him know I'm just going to use the bathroom. And then I have something to ask you regarding what exactly we were just talking about.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, ask away when you get back.
Dylan
from here.
McKenzie, 12-second latency. Thank you, boy. Sounds like we're coming through very quickly.
Was he
Maybe
the guy
there's
that
no lag.
was he the guy that mentioned the latency last time?
Dude, yeah.
Okay.
No,
is he your latency watcher? Is that like
He's our sixth man, which
Dude,
he'll
dope.
eventually be
Dope.
actually here doing the podcast with us and
Excellent.
controlling the live stream. So,
right on, like on
stay
like the
tuned.
production end of it?
Yep,
Like on that?
yep.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Most definitely. And Ghost Boy wants to send us some music to react to on the podcast, which it does sound fun, but we don't have headphones, so we don't hear what's coming at you right now. So we can't do that, but send it to us and we'll listen to it and let you know what we think. But yeah, we can't do that on the podcast. A little bit difficult. Sorry about that.
They'll get there
homeboy.
though. I promise though they'll get there.
We're working on it.
That's a promise that I can't hold them accountable to, but I'm gonna promise you that they'll try to make it happen.
We'll make it now.
Yeah,
It's been on air. You got it. You
I said
gotta
it, so it's
fill
gotta
through.
happen.
You know that's the internet, man. You gotta go through it with the internet. Dylan McKenzie, I miss Studio B on PSTV. I feel like that's something in Plattsburgh. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Studio B. That was I may know this person because that's what we did when we went out there as AM Bodega. Was Studio B. It was I think it was Matt Barron's show. Like he was,
Oh, okay.
we were like the first. I think we were the first band to go out there and do this like idea that Matt Barron had. And you know, I mean, again, that kid when he gets something in his brain, he's doing it. You
For
know
sure.
What I mean? And like that's something I've always respected about Matt Barron is he's persistent and like he sees something and he's gonna make it happen for himself.
Hell yeah.
I
Totally.
super respect that.
Yeah.
So do you know about Studio B?
Studio B, yeah. I
But
actually,
that was the show, right?
I watched I never worked on Studio B,
Okay.
but PSTV, basically what it was a school-ran TV station that existed in the communications department, and it was cool. It was great for, it was great. And Matt had this idea to start up Studio B, which was a show. Sorry,
Bless you.
I was waiting for that to come. A show that basically interviewed musicians or a band, and also the band sat and played a show. So like
Yep.
they would record that separately, and then basically it was all live to tape, all controlled in the studio. People on awesome, like it was cool. And AM Bodega was the first band to do it,
were the
and
first
they
band,
did.
okay,
That's where I
cool.
heard the No Quarter. I was like, wow.
I'm looking for. I think I have a photo from that. I'll find it after.
Yeah.
But I
You
actually
were
have
there?
a photo from that. Yeah, I was the bass
my
player.
God,
dude.
how am I
I was
forgetting
in the
this?
band. I don't know. I was wearing a beanie at the
Yeah.
time, and I was probably a little fatter at the time too. But I think I still had a beard.
What's that thing where you
was
it's
wearing a
like you
purple
remember
shirt.
something, but it's not exactly how you remembered it?
I think it's called being dumb.
No,
Yeah.
it's like no.
Memories?
There's like it's
The Mandela effect?
Mandela
Yeah.
effect. Yeah.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
alternate universe, I wasn't
Yeah.
the bass player in that
Yeah,
band.
yeah,
Yeah, but no, Matt
Yeah.
really put together some awesome stuff. He blossomed to show. Other people directed it. Eventually, after he graduated, had Capital Sen on, and kept the show going for a couple semesters. And then, but yeah, just jumping back into things. Thank you all for first of all, thank you all for 300 subscribers.
I
We're
was just
trying to
about
get
to
to
mention that.
1,000. We want to get
You'll
to
get
1,000
there,
because
man.
that's
You'll
when we
get
can
there.
start making some revenue through YouTube. But as all you guys know, and if you don't know, if you want to find out all of the latest just alternative news, live music coverage, to see all the podcasts and all of our original video content, head right to mirth-films.com, and you can also buy merch, just like the hat that Doug's wearing, and it's getting cold too. We also have
Beanies.
We have beanies, we have
Hoodies.
sweatshirts, and just thank you for the shameless plug and of our own podcast, so not too shameless. Yeah, but so getting back into our conversation, okay, you're at this festival, experiencing these things for the first time.
Yeah.
You had these earlier influences that you weren't, didn't
Completely different from what I was
completely
seeing.
different,
Yeah,
and like,
yep.
but it made like. I'm only asking because like one of my first experiences being away from home and like in that type of position was Modown 2012, and so being like listening to like this heavy music, rock and roll, things you see that you just don't get to, that you see normally, and then listen to, on the radio stations, and then you go to something like that. What is it like, especially like that, and then like how you were saying, like after the day of uncomfortability, like you loved it. Like what was it?
I'm trying to think of how to answer this. So like for me, my first experience into any type of jam music, I have to back up just a little bit here, was seeing Mo at Terminal 5 in New York City.
Oh, yeah,
And I went with some very good friends of mine, and I remember that night. It was like November 25th, 2011, I think. Like something like that. It was like the night before, or no, the night after Thanksgiving. And I was hanging out with this girl that I know, and she was going to the show with her boyfriend, and I remember hearing Mo from that girl that I was seeing previously to that, and I remember that name coming up, and again, you always see the stickers and stuff like that.
What is
period.
Mo?
The hell's Mo? And actually, the funny thing about this is I remember going into a local coffee shop years even before that, and just hearing this like heavy slap bassy, like super almost trancy thing going on the radio, and like looking at the guy and being like, what is this? Because it was like so mesmerizing to me.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, it's Mo. So, I go home and I look up Mo and I listen to like Yodel Little, and like it just was so far removed from what I was hearing. Like they were obviously super deep in a jam, what I was listening to there. And then I was listening to like Yodel Little and it didn't match up to me. I was like, how can this be the same band?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I tried to listen to a couple things and it just didn't click with me at that point. So I'm hanging out with this girl and she's like, hey, I'm going down to see the show with my boyfriend. Do you want to come? And again, this was like another, situation where like would have been something that I was uncomfortable doing. Now I'm leaving to go to the city to go see this show around a bunch of people that I don't know.
And it's not 311.
And it's not 311. It's not, it's not something like that at SPAC or at the Palace or, at the Pepsi or Times Union Center, the Knickerbocker Arena.
It'll always be the Pepsi.
Yeah, and dude, it'll always be the Knickerbocker Arena. That's where we're different. So I remember going to see Mo, and like they blew my mind. It was just an experience that like was incredible, and like I already had that like a little bit of connection going into this festival, but like going into this into that particular festival and coming out of it, like the other side of that festival, my life was not the same as it was when I walked in. You know what I mean? Like the things that I wanted out of my life and the things that I viewed as attainable coming out of that festival were not the same as they were when I was going into it. It was a life-changing experience. Like honestly, like that's the best way I can describe it, and that's the way it makes the most sense to me. Because again, you're in contact with a lot of it. You're in very close contact with it, and there are these bands that are amazing. Like these dudes are like top tier players.
Yeah, and it blows your mind. Like, what the hell? Why aren't these guys huge?
Yeah, exactly. Dude, exactly. And like again, like I didn't have much experience with that music other than Grateful Dead and Mo. And like Mo, like dude, I latched onto. I was like, this is just like the coolest thing, So
crazy solos. What do you prefer, Al or like Chuck?
I don't prefer either. That's not a thing for me. I think they're both very different players.
Totally.
Like Chuck. I identify with more with Chuck's playing because like I like his like melodic ideas and stuff like that. I like
some like Timmy Tucker or like Brett Kem.
Like stuff that gets like dark. You know what I mean? Like I like I resonate like that. That resonates with me. That like makes me feel something a little deeper than just like some any other guitar player. Like Chuck is one of my favorite guitar players out there. He's super fun to watch play.
Yeah.
And like again, he's like super like dark and evil, and like I love that about him. But Al, on the nights when he's on fire,
ripping.
He rages.
Brent Black,
like,
something like that.
Yeah, dude. Like I've seen some nights where he is just on fire, and that's the cool thing about that band is like. It's not like you're going to see, and that's the cool thing about a lot of these bands is that it's not like you're going to see somebody like, I don't know, who could we use as a good example here? Let's use Nickelback, okay? It's not like you're going to see Nickelback, where everything is just planned out perfectly. You know what I mean?
It's
They
pretty
know-
much every rock and roll set you go to.
I wouldn't say every rock and roll set because I know
I feel like
rock and roll
50%,
bands. I know
like
rock
at
and roll
SPAC,
bands.
like you go, you know what, like
Well,
okay,
Skinner versus like
okay,
you know,
maybe
like
Skinner, but like the only thing I'm thinking of is like I've been to 6 Metallica shows now, 4 out of 6, I've seen Seek and Destroy at the same fucking ending, and like
Yeah, well-
there was 2 times that I've ever been, 3 times I've ever been like, you know what, yeah, 3 times I've ever been like, wow, this is insane.
Yeah.
Was the Big 4 at Yankee Stadium.
right on.
Um,
That was probably awesome.
Metallica's music festival called Orion Festival, which we got to see Ride the Lightning all the way through, Black Album all the way through, and there's like some awesome stuff. Like Struggle Within, like off Black.
Not a song that you hear very often.
Yeah,
but like, damn.
that song should be blasted.
Do you know I've never seen them live as much as I loved them.
Really?
I've never seen them live. Yeah.
You're honestly like the last. I hate to say it, but like my last experience with them, it just wasn't satisfying because like the time I saw them before, which was the 3rd time that I was like, wow, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Was I went to this festival called Heavy Montreal up in they played this island with this like awesome festival. Anthrax, Slayer was on it, the bill, and like they like
Super
Kieran
heavy.
Orion, Blackened opener and like Orion like mid set was like. God damn, like Robert Trujillo, man, and like but like then I saw him TU Center, and
The Knickerbocker Arena.
yeah, Knickerbocker, Pepsi, and it was like they ended with Enter Sandman. They played like I think the one thing they did play, I was like, holy crap, was Fight Fire with Fire.
Okay, right
which
on.
was
Again,
sick.
yeah.
And like
That's Kill 'Em All,
like
right?
also
Or is
like I think more maybe for myself during that show. This is the first time I ever photographed Metallica.
Oh, dope.
And like that was like a blessing. Like and like the thing like. Sometimes when you shoot these concerts, it's you don't always get this. You don't get the pit access.
Yeah.
So we're like far, and thank God I had the equipment I had because like first of all, shout out to Sony mirrorless cameras. Just the A7 III is such a great camera if you're like literally trying to make the step up, and like are getting more experience. Think about it. But I'm able to, like it gave me like some extra zoom reach internally in the camera and without losing any like file damage and like I was able to get some good stuff at James, good stuff at
Now,
Kirk.
can I ask you a question? How does that work when you don't have pit access? Like, because I know we know a lot of photographers and I know a lot of videographers and stuff and people who do that kind of stuff, but like. So if you're photographing from outside the pit, like, are you still like, do you still get like
Soundboard.
the pass? Okay, so they'll
They
let
give
you
you
go
the pass,
there,
and you
like,
also get like through 3 songs or 15 minutes, and like,
Okay.
but okay, prime example. First time I ever dealt with this was Dead and Company Fall Tour opener MSG, 2017. Awesome show.
Yeah.
By the way, awesome show, and like. They just
Give me that John Mayer.
yeah. I was like, honestly, I am not a hater. I love it.
Oh,
I
dude,
like.
dude, it's so good.
Some people do. It's like I
Let me
get
tell you
it, but
something.
like you
John
know,
Mayer is one of the guitar players of that generation. One of the few guitar players of that generation that's going to go down as a legend. You know, like we look at like the BB Kings and like people like that who are legendary players. Like he's going to be one of those legendary players. Like I'm sorry,
100%.
like I know like I can't even think of the name of some of his like poppy songs, but he went about it totally the right way. He made a bunch of poppy songs, made a shit ton of poppy money music, and then now he can do whatever he wants.
exactly, and he's doing that.
Yeah.
And just like prime example before getting back into the story is that first time Dead and Company ever played was Times Union Center 2015. I was in college, I was a senior, and I was like I saw Further once also at the TU.
I love
And I loved John Kay, Joe Russo, JRAD, come on.
Joe
and, like,
Russo is a
fucking
beast.
and like Jeff Chimenti. And I'm so happy that they kept him in the Dead and Company lineup. And like it was rumored at the time when they were forming that Mike Gordon was going to be playing
Yeah.
bass. It didn't end up happening because
Glad it's O'Teal.
O'Teal, absolutely.
O'Teal is like just such a good fit for that.
Exactly. Yeah, and realistically, I don't think they could with 2 summer tours going on. How the hell could Mike do that?
Yeah, how could you have
He
Fish
can be
and-
focused. Like
I feel like some of that. What do you think those like rumors were like? Rumors that started from like a shred of truth, or do you think that was just like
Yes.
Fish Kids being like, oh bro, like
I
Gordo's
100%
gonna be on
do
there. Okay,
because
okay.
the thing is, maybe at the time Mike Gordon didn't think that this was going to be. It was
Thought it was gonna be like a
one-off.
summer.
Yeah, that was it. And like, but it didn't. It was OTL and like still like Billy. You had oh fuck, I shouldn't know. Billy and Mickey on the backing and like just so it gets announced Dead and Company shortly after Fairly Well, and then like they go into fall tour and like first place Albany, they open it up and I didn't know what to expect. No one knew what to expect with John Mayer playing for the first time in this setting, which is a huge thing, especially in this scene because people can get butthurt about things.
Very.
If you're a Fish fan, your ass is sore.
When Trey played like it was the farewell shows that he did.
Fairly Well.
Everybody was like, "No, my God, Trey, no!" And like, dude, I'm sorry, Trey is a shredding guitar player, and I would listen to him play with a turd and enjoy it because like
it's Trey.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But there are people out there that are like that have this like Fish versus Grateful Dead and
there's no comparison.
Dude, get out of here. They're two completely different bands.
And yeah,
sorry, I keep
no, it's good. And like and just like. But like okay, we get in, shake down, get the that happened. It was still there, like that. It's Grateful Dead, and like go in first song playing in the band into Cold Rain Snow. Like you could hear like people going nuts because like it wasn't like okay, like how you brought up Casey Jones. Like it's not like okay, Casey Jones, touch of gray. It's like hits, wow, it's like holy crap, these guys are going in, and then they did Tennessee Jed. They did the other one, they did Lost Sailor, Birdsong, like stuff like holy
stuff,
crap. Yeah, it's like stuff you like get into after like listening to the band for like more than like 7 months, like stuff like that. And it wasn't like their first show they didn't play like a China Cat or I Know You're Right or like stuff like that. And like, a lot of people like maybe only heard like a certain batch. So for John Mayer to go in on like that, playing that super tight, by the way, and just hearing that like that auto wah, that Jerry like almost like sounding Moo-Mootron, just like the one, like it's like hearing that. It was like. I don't mean to like. I'm not saying like. I thought Trey playing Fairly Well was great, but I really do think John Mayer is fit.
John Mayer is the fit for this right now. You know what I mean? He's first off, the dude is a professional. Like you'd be hard pressed to find a guitar player that's like as pro as him. Like he's the kind of guy that will take in that kind of music and really dissect it. And like, I mean, I just listening to him talk about guitar. I watch a lot of his like, he does like little YouTube videos and stuff every once in a while. And like, I watch that stuff and it's like, here's a guy who really has an understanding and an appreciation for music. And people who are like that, like want to do more justice than anything. Like that's the focus is to do justice to the music, especially with something like that. Because like you said, Deadheads, if it's not right or if it's not what they want to hear, it can be bad. Like it can be like, they can be down on it.
And most importantly too, like with the scene, it's like that. It's like there's so much like love in it, and like with that chance of like something like skewing that is probably like a bad thing, and like and it worked.
And it worked very well, and it's continuing to work well, and like I super applaud it because it's, again, like you said, people could have been super down on it, and they, for the most part, have been accepted. The newer editions have been accepted with like open arms, which is really nice to see because the Deadhead community can kind of turn on it a little bit, but they didn't. And it's because Mayer is a pro, dude. He's the proest of pros.
Now with that, before we keep on getting back into just like what you've been doing with Wild Adriatic, that we're on this topic, Fish. What got you into them after Mo and after seeing that festival and just what was your first show actually?
Oh my gosh, my first Fish show. I haven't been to a lot of live Fish shows, so I'm gonna preface this whole thing with that. I tried to get into Fish when I was 14 years old. Somebody gave me a copy of Hoist, and I remember listening to that record.
Such a great album.
At the time I was like listening to a lot of Metallica, so I was like, what is this? I listened to Down with Disease, and like I really liked Down with Disease. That was a song that like I always thought was kind of cool, and the reason that I already kind of like knew what that song was is because I listened to EQX, and they used to play that a lot on EQX. So like I had a little bit of experience with it, but like the rest of the album, again, it just didn't catch with me. And so after the Mo thing, like after I started seeing Mo, and after I started seeing after I had gone to that festival and had I think I'd gone to a couple more festivals after that. It might have been like 2012 or 2013. Like, I'm not somebody who's like, I've been to 48 shows and,
Nice.
this night of this one, it was the first night that I saw them was either a Friday or a Saturday night, and it was just a shred show. Like, it was one of those shows where, like, and again, like, people who are that, like, dude, this is my 134th show, were like, blown away by. And again, like, I didn't have the experience of a Fish show to like know really what was going on. Like, I might have heard three songs all night that I knew, and the rest of it just felt like, and this is what Mo felt like for me too, because I didn't have the experience with it. It felt, actually, a really good friend of mine said the same thing to me when I brought him to Mo at New Year's. It felt like they knew 3 songs really frickin' well. You know what I mean? Like, it was just these giant chunks of music that seemed endless, and like, it was the kind of thing where, like, they're so deep in these jams that you don't even remember where they were at when they started, but then they bring it back to it, and you're like, oh my God, now I feel, I'm back to that, like, comfort. So after seeing them, like, back at that point, I, started digging in quite a bit, like, to their live stuff, and I saw them at the Civic Center. And
Oh shit!
Dude,
oh man,
mind blowing. So like
That's how Mirth started.
Really?
Yeah, but
So
let's hear it.
that was a cool thing for me because at the time I was hanging out with like the Mr. F guys a decent amount. I was doing stuff.
Scotty, yeah.
Scott and Andrew and Matt
Chamberlain,
and Ben,
yeah.
I'm so glad. By the way, I am so glad that the Tamberku thing is happening, and I'm so glad that you guys got to do that because that just makes my heart happy. I love those guys, and to see them back playing music, even aside from Dan, who I love Dan, and I think Dan's an amazing musician.
Multi-talented.
Dude, super multi-talented, and he's, another awesome guy. But again, I'm much closer with the other 3 of them, and, and I know for a little while, like, there was some, like, I don't know if I want to play and this and that, but to see them back, to be excited about playing is just such a cool thing for me. Actually, I had a nice conversation with Andrew when I was looking for a new guitar. I was trying to get rid of my
You're at Parkway?
Yeah, I was at Parkway. I was trying to get rid of
Okay.
my Paul Reed Smith, and I was looking for another Strat, and I had a good conversation with him about it, and it's nice to see, them excited about playing again. So then when I saw the video, I thought that was super cool too.
Yeah, and I just want to say, they're playing the show on Black Friday. Is that at the Hollow or at Paris? It's in Albany, New York. Look it up. Go to like them on Facebook, and they are kind of rooted a lot into this area.
Oh yeah,
with
they're
Capital
Albany.
Zen,
Yeah.
Mr. F.
Yep.
List goes on.
Lots of connections.
Yeah, but yeah, Parkway, man, and that's so cool that he works there. I know Justin Hendricks might be working there.
He just picked up a job down there too.
And I just went there, and this is something I wanted to talk to you about. I've started playing the Strat a lot.
Yeah,
my dad
it's the guitar.
Yeah, my dad he's a huge Jimi Hendrix fan.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, no, sorry, huge Stevie Ray Vaughan fan.
Okay, another Strat too.
covers Jimmy. But
getting excited here.
I always play. I play. I like that was my thing. I play Gibson.
Yeah.
Les Paul.
Understandable, dude.
And
they're
like
comfortable
great
guitars.
guitar, and then I I broke a string on my acoustic that I've only been playing acoustic for
I wanted to bring you a pack of strings because I saw you messing around with that acoustic with that broken hi, and I was like, dude, I had a pack of strings sitting there.
So I broke it. I broke that, and I was like, I'll play my dad's. The Strat, and then the strings were so bad, rusted, just haven't been touched in a while, and I was like, wow, the grit, but I could feel the tone, man, and I was like, all right, I got this 30-watt amp that I've been playing out of, and
What you got?
it's like a PV amp, and
is it like a PV amp or is it a PV?
It's a PV amp.
So what PV amp?
It's a model amp. I couldn't give you the name of it.
Okay, all right.
But also, my dad, he also plays out of a Fender amp.
Okay.
It doesn't have any it's not like a deluxe amp. It's just it doesn't have any effects. It's just a clean tone amp.
Yeah.
Back from the guitar's an 82.
Bro, we gotta
and
get you
so
up to-
this
up to the
guitar,
tubes,
I couldn't. There's no
We
way
gotta
I
get you
could.
into a tube amp, bro. If you're talking about.
I need it too. I wish I could play it too. It's
what do you
definitely.
mean, wish you could play a tube amp?
I can't afford it. I gotta
We're
invest in this stuff.
We're gonna find you a cheap one.
But okay, so I'm playing but yeah, so the guitar in the early 80s, the Strat, from what I learned from what the guy was telling me, my guitar is locked at the neck, and it's kind of like a Floyd Rose at the bottom.
Okay.
And it's a Strat.
Interesting.
And it's stock.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It sucked.
In the 80s,
And, like, I was
dude,
trying to
they
look
were
for
pumping those out.
I was looking for a whammy bar there, and like there wasn't one that existed because it was like this like was such like a short run like model,
Yeah,
and like
maybe like a Kaler or something like
but
that.
I was like, wow, I'm like been playing this and like hearing some of like the deep tones that I couldn't hear out of a Gibson that was more rugged. I was like, damn, like I really enjoy. I've tried to play guitar now like an hour a day, and like I just wanted to ask you like, what is it? Why do you like playing the Strat?
It's funny that we're talking about this. Travis and I, like, talk
So he's
about
a Strat
strats.
guy. I know
Well,
on multi he's a Gibson guy, right?
He's got strats. I think he's only got one Strat right now.
Oh,
He's got
really?
Eric Johnson. He actually just got a Les Paul Standard, like a newer Les Paul Standard. That I am not a Gibson player. Like I've never really been into that feel on a guitar. I've owned a couple Les Pauls throughout my like career and throughout my life, and I mean they're not bad guitars. They can be very well made guitars, and this goes for Strats too. Like this isn't just specific to Gibson. I mean, dude, some of them just they're not your guitar. You grab them off a rack and they're just not you. You know, I mean, and you could play 100 Strats until you find your Strat. So. Yeah, Travis got this Les Paul that is just a dream to play. I love playing.
Is this what he played live at the Summit?
Yeah, this was what he had at the Summit.
Okay.
It's what he's been like kind of leaning on pretty hard lately, and that's kind of like his workhorse right now. He also he has a 335 guy, which that's like the bigger hollow body that he's got.
Oh yes, okay.
So like
that's Gibson, right?
That's Gibson too.
Okay.
So
Yep.
he likes them a little shorter scale. He likes the humbucker feel because again, when they do the 3-piece thing, it's a more full sound. Whereas like a Strat is just it's a little bit thinner of a sound.
Totally.
But it's a little bit longer scale. I think like a Gibson is like 24 3/4-inch scale, which is basically
A little more reach on the Strat.
on the
for sure.
Strat. They're a little bit harder to play. They say.
But you rip on it. One of my first times I ever seen you play on it, we actually did open mic, and we did Twist, and you guys before. And this is at Ninola. You guys were hosting open mic with Rich and with Mateo.
Okay,
and
right
you guys did like Mary Jane's Last Dance or some like Tom Petty cover. And I was
It was probably Mary.
And you were playing on that, and I was like, that was like the first time I really got to see you play guitar. And I was like, especially on the Strat, I was like, wow.
So that was actually wasn't a Strat. That was a Paul Reed Smith NF3, which I got that guitar in 2011.
Okay.
I think it was 2011. And that was my main guitar.
It was a baby blue?
It was surf green or like, whatever
Okay.
they call it. But it was like that like really surfy color. You know what I mean? It was like a really 1960s looking. And I played that guitar up until very, very recently. I literally just decided to trade that thing in and get another Strat. I mean, within the last month and a half maybe. That was like...
Really?
Yeah, like, I've gone through some like personal changes lately, and that was one of the things that I felt that just needed to be done. For one reason is I had a Strat as a backup, and I wanted something that was similar to that tone that I could just easily switch with my floor effects and with my amp and not have to turn any knobs. You know what I mean? I could go from one guitar to the other in case I broke a string, or if I just wanted to feel a little bit different guitar in my hands, I could do that without having to make too many changes. The thing with the NF3, the pickups in it they're technically humbuckers, but they're a little bit thinner sounding, but you could still get some of the bite out of them. But they didn't make a lot of those guitars. And that was made by Paul Reed Smith, American guitar maker, makes beautiful, wonderful guitars. But the thing about that model in particular is, if anything, if I ever wanted to change the sound on it, I would have to do some serious modification to it because it's not like a stock pickup that they put in it. It's a very specialty pickup. It's a specialty size. God forbid if I broke the neck, that would have been like an $800 or $900 neck to replace because they don't just make that neck. With a Strat, I could smash the thing into pieces and have just the body left.
Pull a Shawn Eccles.
And I could go to any guitar shop and I could play through 10, 15 Strats and find another one that works for me.
Yeah.
Or find the parts to rebuild, the thing that I broke or whatever. It's just because it's such a popular guitar, it's very easy to change to kind of make it what you want.
Totally.
So that was one of the reasons that I got rid of that guitar. But it was Strat-like. It did have 3 of the narrow field pickups. That's why it was called the NF3. And it did have a very Stratty tone if you rolled off the volume a little bit. And that's so I played that since 2011. What's it, 2019 right now? So for
19.
like 8 years I've been playing that guitar, and I just felt it was time for a change. So I
feel you.
switched to just Strats for right now, because I'm really feeling the tone. I'm really feeling the classic vibe from those guitars because they're such a classic instrument. I mean, dude, you look through history, people were either playing Les Pauls or they were playing, Strats, and that was it. You know what I mean? Yeah, there were a couple crazy one-offs here and there that played, other wild stuff.
Like
but,
Jerry, yeah.
Yeah, like Jerry. But Jerry
Yeah.
played a Strat too. Like one of Jerry's most famous guitars was a Stratocaster.
Wow, okay.
So, and I don't know that it was a Fender Stratocaster, but it was like either like a Strat knockoff or something like that. But it was a Strat style guitar, and I really enjoy the tone. I enjoy the feel. I enjoy that classic vibe, especially with the stuff that I'm playing more often than not now. It's like bluesy rock and rolly soul, and like I just feel that guitar kind of fits into that a little bit better than something that was so specialty like the Paul Reed Smith. So that's why I love Strats. They're just fun to play for me, and they're everywhere. If something happens, I could go get another one, and I could have another one sitting here within 2 hours that was playable, ready to go.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of a convenience thing mixed with it's such a classic, iconic guitar that it's just something that I want in my hands. And I love the feel of them. I mean, the one that I just picked up was a 2012 Deluxe, which is essentially the same thing as these new. I don't know if you've seen the new.
Now, okay,
Ultras.
Is it because I know there's a difference? Is it like grain wood, or was it like a glossy? Because like mine's glossy, and I just like there's something about being able to slide, and it's just
on the neck. You're talking on the back of the neck. So on my 2001 series Stratocaster, which is basically just an American standard Stratocaster base model, and I did a couple things to it, and I put new pickups and new wiring and stuff. But that has a glossy neck to it.
Oh, how do you like the? What's the difference? What do you like better?
I personally don't like them so glossy. Now,
Really?
with the neck on this guitar, it doesn't bother me so much because I don't do a lot of up and down sliding and stuff like that.
You solo the fuck out of the thing, though.
Thank you. But like
saying.
I don't sweat like a ton in my palms,
Oh, that's
so
good.
I don't get caught up a ton. Like I know some people like sand down the back of their necks or like Scotch-Brite the backs of their necks to get rid of that
really?
gloss. And I was actually thinking about doing that on that guitar. But the Deluxe it's less of a gloss finish. Like it's still like kind of glossy, but it feels a little bit smoother. And that's the one. That's that new one that I've been playing. That has just been that's been my workhorse, and that's going to be like my main guitar because I just love the feel of it. I love the neck shape of it. I love the finish on the neck. It's not super glossy. The white one's kind of my backup or the multi-peed thing because we do the all white with the multi-peed thing. So it's
cool.
a white guitar, and it just kind of works for that.
Yeah.
But I mean the other one has it's a little less than gloss. It's still gloss, but it's like still kind of soft. Okay. And that's the difference for me. Is like glossy feels kind of hard and almost sticky some nights, whereas like when you kind of pull that away and you get to a more satiny finish, it'll feel more smooth and like just to me more comfortable.
Now, with that guitar and just where you are now, with playing frequently or just like a permanent role in Wild Adriatic, how has that been? I wouldn't say adjusting, but just like having that, just that group like that you've been friends with the whole time, and now you're there and like just like playing the Summit, playing these shows with Andy Frasco, playing out everywhere. How's it been?
Awesome.
What's your favorite thing about it? Like,
there are so many favorite things about it. To me, I love being in the van, driving for 10 hours with some of my closest friends, some people that I really love and that love me, and that like you kind of all have this bond, and it's a bond that like it's different. Like it's really nice, and it's really like cool. You're like a bunch of brothers, like sometimes it's, a little tensiony or whatever, but like, 9 times out of 10, it's just fun. Some of the stuff we talk about in the van, especially when we have Dusty in the van with us, is just, that's one of my favorite parts, is just the banter and the ridiculousness that goes on in the van on the way to these shows. Another part about it, a part about it that I love is that I get to do the thing that I love the most on the planet. Like there's nothing I love more than playing music, in general, and to be able to do that with people that I love and that I share this bond with, is a really amazing thing to me. It's really incredible that I get to do it. Like you guys are super tight and you guys get to do this together, and I'm sure it's awesome. I'm sure it like feels like energizing every time you do it, and like that's what that is for me to be on a stage with those guys, because I've known all of them for so long. Short of Dusty, who I've only known I've probably known him for 3 years, I think was like when we played our first show together. And again, like I've been playing shows with them on and off for a long time, probably 5 or 6 years.
But it's more now.
But it's like now it's like instead of just coming up and sitting in on a couple songs or playing like a one-off show here or there, it's a much more consistent thing, which is nice, and it's super fun.
And you have solo parts in a lot of the songs too.
Yeah, well, that's more like with the improv-y stuff. Like we have tried to try to stretch out a little more now.
That's cool.
And it's something that like, Trav and I have been talking a lot about, like making more room. Not even room. That's not even the word I want to use. But like kind of working out parts a little bit differently.
Okay.
Like I was literally over there with him today, just working on some parts for some new stuff that we have coming. It's nice to be like kind of involved in the writing my parts for what's coming, because a lot of the stuff previous to this, like even up to this EP, like they recorded that a year ago. So before
you guys just recently released it, and Dave Brandywine of Turquoise was the one who produced it, right?
Small
so
world,
these guys were traveling down to Brooklyn.
Yeah. Honestly, can I tell you? I have no idea. I think they were in Brooklyn to do it. But again, like I didn't have a role in the creation of that stuff. You know what I mean? Maybe there was some influence from some stuff that I had done with them previously. But like I didn't help them write those songs.
That's sick though. It's just like Turquoise.
But
man.
yeah, and then they got to work with.
And you guys, were you playing at
the 2 shows that they played with them were the 2 shows that I couldn't play, and then I was going to go meet them in New York, and then Travis, he was having some problems with his voice, and they canceled that. They canceled that show. So like. Yeah, and I ended up going down to New York. My brother and his girlfriend lived down in New York, so I ended up having a weekend down there to like kind of hang out. But like, and it was awesome. I had a great weekend down there. But yeah, I was so like bummed that they were like the 2 shows that I just couldn't make happen, and it was the 2 shows with Turquoise, who again was part of that thing that changed the way that like changed what I wanted to do. Like made me really want to be more than just like a player in a bar band. Like I wanted to be in a band at that point. Like I wanted to be up there doing what they were doing. And like, and part of it was, again, seeing those guys. I mean, it was, I forget how many pieces are in that band. But 9 pieces, all up there in jumpsuits. Look, he's like a Rolodex of knowledge here. It's crazy.
I don't know. They're like one of my favorite bands.
Yeah, dude, they're so good. And like, I remember seeing them, and again, it was like Twiddle, them, and then Dokapon that night. And I remember seeing them.
What the hell? Great lineup.
Yeah, and again, this is before any of them.
That's like Family Values tour. Like that's it,
dude. Right, but it wasn't like a huge. I mean, that festival might have had 3,000 people at it. Which again, I know that's like not a small festival. Actually, at that time, I think because I remember talking to the dude who ran the festival like a couple years ago. And he was like, yeah, I think it was like 800 and something people at that particular one. But it felt like 1,000 people. It felt like, 3,000 people because, whatever. So
it's a lot of people.
Yeah, but I remember seeing them, up there in the jumpsuits and doing this funk thing that I had never heard before. And like in a way that I had never heard funk played before. You know what I mean? So yeah, for those guys to get to work with them, I think that's super cool. Like, and I'm super proud of the music that they put out of it, because like some of the newest stuff that's come out has been some of my favorite. And I love the entire Wild Adriatic catalog just about. I mean, I don't think there's a single song that I would hit skip on. And this is apart from being a part of the situation, because again, like I didn't help them really write any of the stuff. You know what I mean? Like I'm just kind of stepping into a role where we're all going to be sitting in a room together working on new things together, and like that's a really cool thing to me to be able to be a part of at this point. Because like I love playing the stuff too, but and Travis and I were talking about this the other day, like writing a riff versus playing a riff that somebody else wrote. It's always going to be harder to play a riff that somebody else wrote.
Yeah,
trying to perfect something that already happened.
To perfect something that's already there. And Travis is such an awesome player, man. Like aside from being my friend, aside from being my bandmate, I have so much respect for him as a player. He is just a monster. You know what I mean?
Love it.
He's such a great player. He's a great soloist. He's a great writer, and it's an honor to be like up there and like holding my own with him. You know what I mean? And like, being able to do my thing to complement his thing, to complement the rest of everything that's going on, and to make this like harmonious thing together. You know? So that's something that I love about being in the band.
And you've been friends with him since 10, 11 in these
and actually longer than that. Here's another little fun fact for you. Is we were actually in YMCA day camp together, like when we were young. I mean, I'm talking like 6, 7, or something like that years old. Like I remember his brother more clearly than I remember him at that point. But again, I was like 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah.
But I remember that the Grays were at the summer camp with us. So like Travis was somebody who's been in and around my life for a great portion of it.
Totally.
So that's another thing that I love about it, is these people we've always kind of been in each other's orbits, are like finally able to come together and like create something, and that's super beautiful to me.
Absolutely. And as a fan, I gotta say I love it. I think it's natural from watching it from a fan's perspective, and just some of the things you guys have been able to do just in the community, just for the community, with just how we were talking about. You talk about a 30-mile radius in the area of where we live in, Adirondack-ish area, compared to a city that is maybe an hour away from us that has the same population as a 30-mile radius. You guys have come out of that and like been working with a lot of awesome big bands and just going on tour and putting out this new EP, which you should go check out on all streaming services.
It's our time, baby.
And seeing this guy perform it live too. And it's just, man, I just like, it's a full circle, like, and like I really wish I like with Wild Adriatic, like Matt Barron was a huge person who like introduced me into you guys.
Yep.
Just like with working in the factory and just like, and then just getting to know
the ball factory,
and knowing, getting to know Mateo and just Chuck, and getting to know how awesome of a person Chuck is and how much he supports Mateo and the music and you guys. It's just like,
it's a family. We have a thing that we say like in our group. It's a house mentality. And you may have heard that. You may have heard us talking about that back at the Ball Factory. It's
okay.
Like, we're all like family. You know what I mean? And that's like the biggest thing for us is that like, and I said this to both of you earlier. Like we get rich together, we go broke together. You know what I mean? And that's the way it is. If I have and you don't have, you have. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, and that's the way like we try to treat it with each other. Is that like, we all care a lot about each other as humans. Before the music, before anything else, we care about each other a lot. So it, to add in then something that we get to create together is just, it's just the natural progression of things, and it's just great. It's awesome. I love it.
That's awesome, man. And just something that we kind of like to, I honestly, just with all the news and just live music coverage that we have, please go check it out, mirth-films.com. There's a lot going on, a lot of tours being announced, especially in like this time where it's just you're hopping into winter tour. Bands are touring, especially. There's a lot of news out there. Please go check out our website.
Time to buy them
but
tickets.
something we'd like to end each one of our episodes with is what have you been listening to and what have you been watching. So Adam, we're gonna go down the line. What have you been listening to, man?
What have I been listening to? I have been listening to, actually, Travis, just like, we've been talking about Eric Johnson a little bit lately, so I've been digging into a little bit of that stuff. Yeah, but like, there's so much more than that. And that was my thought.
Yeah.
Clips of Dover, and actually I was playing part of that earlier today and like not nailing it at all. But, so I've been listening to a little bit of Eric Johnson. I've been trying to dig back into like deeper blues stuff, listening to, old B.B. King stuff. There's a record that keeps popping into my rotation lately that's called Dark Magus. And that's by, oh my gosh, it's a jazz record, and it was, I can't remember, it was Miles Davis. I'm done.
Okay.
It's Miles Davis, and it's this thing that he did live that he performed back in, like, I believe the 60s maybe, and it was insane. Like, the music is insanity. Like, it's so cool. It's like this crazy, wild, improv-y, jazzy thing that makes no sense but all the sense, and I love it. So I'm listening to a little bit of that. That's been coming up a lot lately. And again, like I said before, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. I've been listening to a lot of Bert Kreischer's podcast, a lot of Dr. Drew's After Dark podcast, you know, the Joe Rogan Experience. Joe Rogan. Yeah, it's great. You know, to watch those guys go through the Sober October thing, you know, and like
commit
to it and like do
commit,
it for each
yeah.
other. You know, like that was the thing that they started, like, you know, kind of to help each other, and to watch how that's affected so many other people. Like that is super cool to me.
It's awesome.
The effect that they can have, and like, you know, we were talking about this off the podcast before, like. Your Mom's House and Tiger Belly and stuff like that. Like, there's such an interesting focus on like mental health with these podcasts where they're like, you know, and again, like with Frasco and stuff like that. You know,
great.
Like, it's so nice to see that there's like kind of this almost ending of stigma on this like mental health, at least in this like type of community. You know what I mean? And that like. I just think it's an awesome thing to be positive about and to be open about and to be talking about on like in like a very public setting, and to like watch these comedians who, again, like when you would look at these guys like 80s rock stars, they're up on a stage, they're huge, they're big, and
100%,
and they're untouchable, but to like see them in these podcast settings where you can identify with them as human beings is just so cool to me. And there's so many lines that can be drawn from these stand-up comedians, like the way that they live their lives and the way that they tour and the way that they set up their shows and the way that they do their stuff, to musicians and the way, like, it's the same type of stuff that we have to deal with, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Driving out to shows all weekend, you know, maybe not seeing our families, maybe not seeing the people that we love, the people outside of the band that we love as much as we want to, and dealing with that stuff. Like, it's just awesome watching that stuff and listening to that stuff. So that's what I've been listening to.
Woo! Awesome. Dougie. Fresh. What do you
Quite a lot I've been listening to this past week. So as you know, I've been on Audible, listening to audiobooks.
Nice.
That's my new
what were you listening to, man?
So I listened to Permanent Record, that new Edward Snowden book, which is
nice.
all about like basically his whole personal life and how like he was raised, and then going to the NSA, and then everything he was founding, and then to where he is now. Super fucking interesting.
Super fucking scary, right? Like, as far as, like, what that dude knows,
has
like...
to deal with.
No, like, you definitely kind of really get a feel for, like, okay, what he did and, like, why he is where he's at for everything. But, like, it was definitely a super interesting, and, you know, really got to know a lot about how they're listening in.
Hey, Google, jump off the cupboard. Yeah.
So, my data, can I get a profit in on that, please?
Yeah.
Oh, well. Another book I've been listening to, Born to Crime, that Trevor Noah book. It's about his life. Trevor Noah, he's the host of The Daily Show, who used to be Jon Stewart. But, you know, he's lived a very interesting life. He was born and raised South Africa. And he was born during apartheid, and he was like a mixed kid. So, white dad, black mom. So, like, and that was just, like, not a thing. Not okay. So, it was like just what he had to go through as a child growing up was just, like, super interesting, and the way he breaks it down in this book is just like really like understandable and relatable.
What's the name of this book?
Born to Crime.
Born to Crime.
We'll put it in the link below.
Okay.
Link below, guys.
Description.
And also, I found another podcast list too. It's called The Handsome Rambler. It's a Hannibal Buress podcast because I love Hannibal Buress. I didn't realize he had a podcast. So funny. So like I just finally looked him up on like just like the Apple Podcasts. I was like, I wonder what this guy's been on, and he had his own podcast. So that's another thing I'm checking out.
Absolutely, man.
I'm gonna check that out too. I love Hannibal Buress. I didn't know he had a podcast. That's
right?
awesome.
He's never had he's been on Joe Rogan a few times and never said he had never plugged it. You know, he's a solid dude.
He's so funny.
Dude, the man. So what you been listening to?
What I've been listening to, I've been listening to a lot of Rush's first album.
Okay, right on.
I've been listening to a lot of it. That's awesome. With getting really back into guitar again, like I took a few years off. I've talked about this on the podcast a little bit. Took a few years off. Only played acoustic in like the recent 8 months to get that finger working a lot better, hear what I'm playing. And then it ended up just getting back into it. I wrote a couple riffs, and like I'm working on something with one of my buddies, Ricky Chase, and he works at
Nice. Yeah.
and he we just used to play in college together, and like now I definitely feel more comfortable and confident with where my chord progressions are, just linking scales up and down the neck and knowing notes, and like I didn't know that before, and like now I'm happy I took the time to do it. So, but like the couple covers that I've been playing. Lawyers, Guns, and Money.
Oh, I love that song. Oh my
Such
god,
a good
I love
song,
that song.
man. And then Working Man, because it just like I've talked about this on the podcast before. It relates a lot to what I've gone through this past year, and I've been more confident because of this podcast with singing, and like I like
Okay, right on.
I'm like I like I don't know. I came up with like this gallopy like blues style. For that song, that's not because like at the time when I was playing it was on acoustic, and I knew like the bar chords to it, and like of how like it would be played at like Alex Lifeson would play it, and then I was like, okay, I can't play this like this. I'd rather sound out the notes better, just in the the 6 chord like first 3 noters.
Okay, right.
I was like, wow. I was like, okay, instead of like da da dun dun dun, like yeah, whatever. And like instead it was like more like dun 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 dun, like some like a little more like jazzy to try to like make the sound like present better on an acoustic guitar of what that would portray. So I really got into playing that, and like it's something that it's like my warm up now. It's like I'll play that, but like, and then but so like that lately that's been like what I've been playing on my guitar has been influencing what I've been listening to kind of, and but just to swing it back on just the other half of what we've been doing, talking about what we've been watching, I just want to give a shout out to Milton Martinez.
Oh.
Fuck. I should chug this just for him.
Okay, right on.
Professional
So we're
skateboarding.
skateboarding.
This sounds like somebody I should know. Why don't I know?
Milton Martinez is like, oh my god, like something that's gotten more serious over the years in skateboarding is Skater of the Year. And I contribute that to people like Chris Cole winning Skater of the Year twice, and like stuff, and like just doing like famous like tray flip down the Wallenberg.
And
like,
also, I feel like, with skateboarding growing in popularity over the past
it's
few
in
years,
the Olympics now.
obviously.
Yeah.
It's in the Olympics. Skater of the Year.
Wait. Skateboarding is in the Olympics
It's
now?
an
dude,
Olympic
we got
sport.
there.
Wow, we are in the future.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, continue. I'm sorry. I didn't know.
we're doing it, man.
I feel like
We're
Skate or
in
die,
it.
right? Bring it to the mainstream.
But yeah, no, I feel like with the growing popularity of skateboarding, of course, Skater of the Year, that's more
The
people
most
are talking
prized
about it.
possession
So
in
like,
Hesh skateboarding.
Okay,
And
right.
Hesh skateboarding is like, to me, it's like how you look at a band like Slayer compared to like a band like Nickelback or Godsmack. Like Slayer is
You don't put
You don't fuck with
Nickelback and
Slayer.
Godsmack. Like, I would put Godsmack, like,
okay.
Nickelback,
I'm
like,
sorry. I'm just like thinking thrash metal.
No,
like,
I get it.
and like
I'm-
so like you look at a skater like just like some skaters like. People like as of recently in the past couple of years have like made parts at the end of the year to try to get Skater of the Year, and like somebody prime example Nigel Houston, epic fail every time, like does the hardest tricks, but it's like you can't just like do it. You don't do it for that. You do it because of the art, and like this guy Nigel Houston, gnarly skateboarder, street and like
you
park
can't
skater.
argue it,
But like there's everything. He's a robot.
He's
He's
like,
a
he doesn't
robot.
have the
though.
passion at
Exactly.
all.
It's like
you can see it.
Yeah, he does it
weird.
for. I can't say, but like,
weird.
but you look at a guy like Milton Martinez, who just put out
Does
this
it to be
gnarly
cool.
part. Go check out
That's annoying. Don't
Thrasher
do things to be
Thrasher
cool.
magazine on YouTube.
Do things 'cause you love them,
Milton Martinez, his part was the most insane part I've seen since probably Kyle Walker doing winning Skater of the Year a couple of years ago. It was.
No, he definitely threw down.
It was insane.
He
Like,
chucked himself
there's like this-
literally everywhere.
Like there's this guy who used to skate back in still skates, one of the best skaters of all time, like in the essence of growing skateboarding, Mark Gonzalez, first ever guy to ollie into this car wash like slam embankment, which was probably like that. I'm not even kidding. Like the steepest. It was like probably like a 10 degree angle, and like
No
no,
shit.
like 80 degree angle.
okay.
Yeah, and like
Scary shit.
10
scary.
degree.
Like it was like you want a hill? Let's take it to another level.
There's a fucking hill.
Kickflipped it like off like a 12-foot like drop into this embankment, which like this at least this spot is super iconic in skateboarding.
Okay.
And he did what was not possible, and that for that reason to me, along with every other gnarly trick he did in his fucking part, like it was like I have like. For me, it's hard to get into a lot of skateboarding stuff like without like actively skateboarding all the time. And like I gotta say, as of recent, because of like shows like Skateline MBD, which also airs on Thrasher Magazine's YouTube, it's hard to keep up on it a lot because as a skateboarder back in the day, you watch skate videos.
Back in 2012 on YouTube.
No, back in like
Yeah, no, I know. I used to skateboard when
back in
I was
90s.
young.
So it's like,
yeah.
oh, you watch, yeah, right? You watch. Sorry, you watch this video that's like
the skateboarders
the
pushing
most
the
meaningful
boundaries
thing
of,
to your life,
yeah, no, I
like
get
as
it,
a
man.
skateboarder, and
Get
like
it.
and like in today's age, it's more of like people drop individual parts. A lot of things are seen on Instagram. It's a different landscape,
Yep.
and like which is why like no knock to like skateboarding being in the Olympics. I'm so happy that people have widely addressed that this is something that everybody loves. And like, but when somebody like you take that out of it and you take the gnarly skate or die, skate and destroy, like what skateboarding really is about, Milton Martinez, I don't know, like there's this other guy, Mark Susho, who's like the most technical skateboarder. Like not like straight up like we'll do the biggest fucking things, but we'll do the most like
The most perfect
complex
looking trick.
Yeah.
like
He's
flip in,
still
flip
very
out shit
technical.
like to the extreme.
And also doesn't stick to like one type of trick. He's not just going over stairs and gaps. He's like also hitting a lot of handrails. I
Doing
feel like
switch things, like
doing
a
switch.
variety of things. But like I gotta say, at least personally for me, when you're doing something that's like I don't think Mark Sushu would kickflip into the fucking car wash bay. No one.
No.
Like
You're
there's a
you
reason
guys are
why.
making me want
There's
to
a reason
watch
why.
You
skate videos
should.
right
There's
now.
we'll watch it after
We'll watch
this.
them after the
Okay.
podcast.
Yeah, but there's a reason why no one has ever touched that car wash in 20 years, and that guy did. So, like in
And he-
the
and he
spirit
upped
of
it.
Jake Phelps, like Milton Martinez, man, I just gotta give a cheers, and I will drink to that
Fucking drink to it, boy.
one. You too, man. I'm notorious for not fucking
all
good,
for
man.
drinking
Dude,
after I cheers. Like, that's what
and
I
to
do.
all podcast viewers, me and Dylan tested this out at It's a Gala, and he still didn't drink. It's not a podcast thing. He just cheers and then
I
just
just
like
talk
forget.
too much.
He really does. That's just which
Dude,
is
you're in
not a
good-
bad
you're in
thing. It's
good
not a
company
bad
right
thing,
now.
you know. Like
Yeah.
it's good to talk, but just respect
And
the
he's,
cheers.
and he's good at it too. You know?
Very good at it. Yeah.
But second though, what I've been watching, Grateful Dean. Grateful Dean. I'm sorry to go back into it. I actually had somebody last night tell me something that you've told me before was that I tend to like go deep into something and then we'll bring it right back to where we
Yeah.
were.
You know what we never got back to, I think? We never
that?
got back to the fish conversation, right? I think we like hopped out of the fish conversation.
Okay.
And I remember at the beginning of this, before this started, that you were like, we're going to talk about fish.
gonna
And
talk
you had
about
me,
the-
you had me
yeah,
all
literally, yeah,
excited.
yeah,
You had me
yeah.
all excited, and we talked fish for like, 6 minutes.
minute.
It's all good.
There's so much to talk
now
about
go back,
there, man.
Now to go back
No.
here. Hit it hard.
Grateful Dean, he does the best Grateful Dead just recaps of just Dead and Company and other Grateful Dead related things. Grateful Dean is just he's been one of my favorite people to watch on YouTube. He gives honest opinions on the show too.
Right on.
He won't always just praise the band. Like sometimes he'll just be like, "This is a fucking train wreck," and like
This is not the
and
night.
like this is like and like he'll joke and make the funniest jokes, like pick on Bob Weir, pick on like fucking he'll be like there's like this conspiracy that he has is like if Bill Kurtzman doesn't wear the red hat backwards, it's gonna be fucking lame. and like kind of right. Other than that, Disco Biscuits. I don't really listen a lot to the Disco Biscuits, but after Formula 5 opened up for the Biscuits,
Yeah.
I started listening to a couple of their songs just from that show. Kind of like how you go to a fish show and like here,
They're fun,
you know,
man. They're fun.
and like they're fun, and like some of their stuff, like I don't really relate to a lot of electronic stuff, and that was something that like
No,
I don't know.
I'm not going for the high five. I was raising my hand, but I will give you a high five.
I'm sorry,
Conspirator.
Conspirator.
Have you listened to Conspirator?
I love Chris Machete.
Oh.
Okay.
And
Excellent.
I'm a rat guy.
Okay, right on.
I'm a rat guy. Welcome
Right.
to the Donkey Show.
Okay.
You got a ticket if you want to go. Like, you know, like, dude.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
it's just like, it's just something I can't relate to. And like going back to like thrash metal and your like maybe introduction from 311 to whatever, jam. But like, it was just something hard for me. I don't know. I just like, there's like something about just regular instruments, at least for myself, that I like. And what I saw when Kirk Hammett played Master of Puppets solo compared to when Fish plays I don't know, just any solo from like Down with Disease to whatever, or like Mo playing the signature solo.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, or just like, and then get into the Type 2 aspect of just like jamming on it was like, all this really difference is these guys just extended what these other guys would regularly do, and they would rip at a million miles an hour, as Rob would say in Brent Black. No,
Okay.
crap. I can't. I shouldn't even have said that because I said the wrong song.
Oh,
But he says that. But like you listen to Kirk Hammett solo, or like it's just like Dave Mustaine melting face, you know, like.
yeah, I mean,
And like then you listen to
though,
like
you know?
you listen to Al Schneer, you listen to Trey, you listen to Chuck, you listen to even fucking Mahali.
Dude.
If I had a hat on, I'd fling it for him, that guy, because like that guy, just like I don't know. There's something about those solos that are just amazing, and like, and with the Disco Biscuits, like there was a couple songs that I would just like really got onto, and like,
Yeah.
and they went out. This is their first like tour that they've done in years.
Yeah, in years.
And they live stream every show for free. Please go subscribe to the Disco Biscuits, and
If you want to.
if you want to. But I mean, if you want to see like a good live show, like subscribe to the Disco Biscuits.
Yeah, no.
In general, like it's
their light show too is like
insane.
pretty mind blowing. It's the same thing with like
Twiddle
Fish
does
and
it too.
Mo.
They
Yeah,
have those
with-
same laser beams now.
Dude, so the guy from Spafford, did you see that the guy from Spafford just started with Humphreys McGee? The guy who was doing lights for Spafford literally just moved up to start doing lights for Humphreys McGee. So like that should be a very interesting light show because that guy got good fast, and I can't remember his name. I can't think of his name, but I'm excited to see what he does with Humphreys McGee. Again,
Is he going to still be doing stuff with Spafford either?
No, there's a new guy, Matt something, who's going to be doing him now.
I
But
really
again,
hope those
like-
guys get to the leader level, Spafford, because
Oh
like,
God, yeah, they're awesome. Brian
man.
Moss. Right
Brian
now,
Moss
I steal. I said this on Jam and Toast. I steal licks from him all the time.
Brian Moss,
All the time.
the
Like,
bassist
dude,
Chris something, I can't remember his name, but like he's a great singer too. Like
Dude,
Leave the
they're-
Light On, like holy.
They're an awesome.
What's
band.
that new album?
I-
For Amusement Only. That's what it's called.
Okay.
But like it's like, I don't know. Like I went and saw.
I've been listening to their like the live stuff, the 2 live albums they have on Spotify.
Oh my God,
Listen to
so
them
good.
a lot,
Yeah. Yeah, no, those guys
they're
rip.
great.
But other than that, what I've been watching, that's really it. What about you, Doug?
I've been getting back into South Park.
Integrity.
Integrity. No, but I'm starting at like season 1. So,
yeah.
so,
You're going
so
back
real,
and
yeah, so it's gonna be a wild time up at Integrity Farms again.
No.
But you know, dude, like reliving a lot of classics, a lot
Dude,
of classics,
there's so
lots
much.
of laughs.
There's so much funny stuff in
Dude,
those.
like that show is just iconic.
Yep.
Like they really,
yeah.
like I love that they like. I just watched. It was like from season 2. Like I just watched just like one episode. Yeah. I was just about to ruin. Never mind.
I don't think that you're gonna have any spoilers here. I think anybody.
No,
you're talking
it's
season
not
2.
that I'm gonna have spoilers. It's just that so they did this thing where it was like a Halloween episode and they did spooky vision and they had like some actresses like picture up on like all 4 corners of the screen just like for the
I
entire
remember-
episode.
yeah.
But like I can't remember the actress's name. But like I just love the like not caring at all
Dude,
about anything,
Anything.
anybody.
Everything was fair game for
Like-
them, and that's like the beauty of that show. Is
It
that
really
everything
They
was
should
fair
fuck
is.
you to everything.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
That was
Absolutely.
a great show.
What about you, man?
What have I been watching? So, Disney Plus, like,
Oh,
bro,
Christ.
Disney
Dude,
Plus is
yeah.
amazing.
it's awesome, except for like I'm getting like So I've been watching what I've been watching is the Star Wars, the whole canon. Okay. So I started at
4,
episode
5, 6, 1, 2, 3, or
no, come on.
What?
I'm going chronologically here, man. And
That's
let me just say,
bullshit.
Jar Jar Binks is absolutely an integral character in the canon.
But you don't.
Like,
You're not a
everybody's
4,
like,
5. You don't start off in 77.
okay,
No, why would I do that?
Because that's the point.
No,
this is something I would love to know.
Bullshit.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Because I still haven't gotten into Star Wars.
Okay.
So like,
When do you start watching Star Wars?
do you go
When I was
in
young.
order or?
And you still feel that way?
Yeah, it's
really?
not, I'm not watching the new ones first because, or the
Old
first
ones.
3 episodes first, or the old ones. Excuse
4,
me.
5, 6,
the 4, 5, and 6, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the
Jedi,
Jedi.
yeah.
I'm not watching those first, only because they're not chronologically first. Okay, so like if you look at the Star Wars canon, Episode 1, 2, and 3 are the first 3 first 3 parts of the
course.
series.
Oh, obviously, of
So
course.
I'm watching it in chronological order rather than the
way you're
what
supposed
some
to
might
watch
say
it.
are better movies. I mean, if I was going to watch it from better movies until
100%.
until whatever, I'd probably start with Return of the Jedi. I'd probably do Rogue One after that. You know what I mean? But
Really?
like, I thought Rogue One was awesome.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. I thought there was.
I thought Empire Strikes Back to me is like the best one.
That one's Empire Strikes Back is awesome too. Like, and A New Hope's awesome. I mean, honestly, they're all pretty fucking awesome. Like, I don't know. I grew up watching Star Wars. I remember getting the book that had all the different vehicles and droids and all that shit in it when I was like 9 years old. Because like you got to understand, when I was 9,
Phantom Menace
is when they were pretty much they released Phantom
I got
Menace.
the game
like,
on
the next year.
N64, man. I was
Dude, I remember getting the VHSs for episodes 4, 5, and 6 A New Hope.
The gold, silver box.
So that was like I had that VHS series when it came out. Like I'd gotten that for Christmas that year. It was a really big thing, and especially like when we were young, the toy companies would push the shit out of all that stuff. So there were a million toys to go with all this stuff. So
100%.
So
yeah.
that stuff kind of like maybe is what brought me into it. But I remember watching it and just like my mind being blown. Like here's my little 9-year-old brain watching this dude cut a tauntaun open and sleep in it. You know what I mean? Or like there was just so much cool story going on. Or like Endor, you know what I mean? Like that was such a crazy thing. Like I went to California maybe like 4 or 5 years ago at this point, and I remember being in the Redwoods and just being like, I'm on fucking Endor right now. And that is so cool because that's where they filmed it. It was in Redwood State Park.
Is that close to Frisco?
I wasn't in that set of Redwoods.
Okay.
I wasn't in that park. The ones that I mean, I was we were like on the 101. There's it's called something of the Giants, the Avenue of the Giants, where you can drive through a bunch of these redwoods, and there's a couple of those trees that you can actually drive through the trees themselves. My favorite set of redwoods is a place called Montgomery Woods, Montgomery Forest, and that's on Camchi-Ukiah Road between Ukiah and Camchi. And Camchi is this beautiful, wonderful, tiny little town in California that I love. I love this little town. Like there's so much connection between me and that town that I love it so much, and I would go back there in a heartbeat. It's so cool. But again, like that, it's got that Montgomery Forest, which is really cool. You can walk through the redwoods. It's got this cool little stream that goes through. I've got tons of pictures
in Endor.
And you feel
You're in
like
Endor,
you're on
yeah.
Endor. Like honestly, you feel like you're in Endor.
Right on a
I'm riding on the
blasters,
yeah.
yeah.
Dude, you. That's how you feel. So I mean, my little 9-year-old brain loved that shit. Like I was just so into those movies. So that was the first thing I did with Disney Plus was start, and I literally started maybe 3 days ago watching, like rewatching the canon. And again, I'm doing it in chronological order.
So do you think that's the best way to go about it, or
first time around?
First time. If you're trying to get into it, if you're trying to just get into the movies, I would probably start. I might start with Empire Strikes Back.
Fuck that! I'm sorry.
Why? Which one would you start with?
Episode 4. 100%.
A New Hope, really?
Yes.
I mean, it'll give
it's
you
the best
context.
intro to Star Wars you could ever have.
Okay, all right.
Just saying, where you
it's
are
like
when
Vader,
you first start.
when you win with Vader. Okay. Let's not ruin it for him. Start with A New Hope.
Okay.
All right.
4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9.
And then go
during 7, 8, 9. Watch all that other
Dude,
stuff.
no. I understand what he's saying because it.
For the just like the essence of Star Wars.
And to appreciate what Star Wars has become. looking at Star Wars from the first movie that was made in the Star Wars canon, even though it's not chronologically the first one, seeing that how this dude did this. I mean, he basically
George Lucas
built it out of like Legos
Practical
and other
effects.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's like it's
He
not
didn't have what
CGI.
you had in Phantom
You know what I
Menace.
mean?
Yeah.
And like it still holds water.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like it's funny because I remember watching
It's like
this.
what? Yeah.
I
Sorry.
remember watching this thing. I think it was like extras on the VHSs, and they were talking about how when they went back to remaster them to put out that VHS.
Yeah,
set,
yeah.
They so what they originally did for the like land speeder on Tatooine is they on the film they had to go frame by frame and Vaseline out the wheels on the speeder so that the wheels didn't show up on the movie, and so like.
No After Effects.
And that was like it. That's all they could do. So like when you watched them before they were remastered, you could see the orange under the speeder from where they Vaselined it out because it would basically just take that ink or whatever it was that they used for the film away. It would like remove whatever it was that showed the wheels.
Yeah.
And like to think that like these dudes sat there and did this frame for frickin' frame, like, and to like look at it from that perspective and look at it like, okay, this was made in like 1978?
77.
1977.
Jesus. Yeah.
Like, and it still holds water. Like, you look at some things that were made in the 80s, and I think it may be because it's so science fiction and so removed from what we, would expect. It's not like looking at like a movie in the 80s, like
You
Back
could
to
have
the
traded
Future, and being
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, like that, like I can identify with that because that's like what kind of maybe real life was, like it's a life that I identify with. You don't really necessarily.
So out of the box. That's why episode 4 is so to me so important.
And you got to put yourself in that mindset.
Because you think of like just
really
just
cool.
like without getting into the story, just some of the characters on the Empire side and just on the Rebel side, like somebody had to come up with that idea. And so for that fact, episode 1 couldn't have been something if there wasn't like at least some influence into that. But for George to be able to like break it down and be like, okay, we started with this. How did it get there? Yeah. That's where then you appreciate 1, 2, and 3 because you made this first. Nobody else did that.
And then you wrote the back. I think he had.
And one thing, the whole
backstory
shit
written.
on this whole conversation is South Park, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, the whole like remaster, like.
Oh yeah.
Dude, but it really does. I don't know. It's just
I agree. Like now again, if I was gonna watch my favorite first, it would either be Return of the Jedi or it would be Empire Strikes Back. If I was gonna watch them first, but again, I am watching them in chronological order because I've seen them all, and like now I want to watch, and I've never taken the time to watch them all in chronological order, and I have a little bit of time right now, so that's what I'm gonna do.
Hell yeah.
But,
And if you have Disney, if you have Disney, if you don't have Disney Plus, and you or even if you need a cell phone, Verizon will give you a free Disney Plus for a year if you sign up with them. But with that, I definitely want to play one of your guys' tunes. What are we listening to, man?
Which one did we decide that we're going to listen to?
If it feels
right. Yeah, this is one of my favorite tunes of the new
So
EP.
before we play this, guys, thank you all for tuning in to episode 33 of the podcast. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you for having
man.
me, dude.
Hey,
Thank
you
you
are
for
a
having
lifelong
me.
friend, man, and you always will
Dude,
be. And I'm so happy
I'll be here
to be
anytime you
here
guys
with
want
you,
me
man.
here, man. I'll come hang out.
I'm Frankie Gavon,
I'm Doug Quimby.
I'm Adam Patten.
and we are kinda
Live.
Kinda.
Livin. And this is the Mirth Films Podcast, episode 33. As always, you can listen to us on iTunes and Spotify. And please check out our website, mirth-films.com, where you can check out all the latest concert reviews, live music coverage, all of our original video content, and much more.
And I think you
Get
can
your
buy their
merch.
shit. Yeah,
And
you can buy
our
their stuff.
shit. And
It's
all
not
the
shit,
money.
you can buy their
These.
stuff. You can
Buy your
their merch.
stuff. Honestly,
Thank
I
you.
wish I
Yeah,
brought my
it's not
ass.
shit. Like, I came in asking if they had a hoodie because
He
I
did,
like
and
hoodies
you
so
know,
much, so.
epic fail. And like, but like, thank you all for tuning in. This has been, honestly, man, thank you so
It's
much.
been
This has
great,
been such a good
fantastic
time.
episode.
Like,
This
thank you,
This has
Adam.
been great,
And like,
I can't wait to do it again.
and this is where
Definitely have to do it again.
absolutely you're always welcome back on. And
Oh, don't tell me that. I'll be here next week.
honestly, please, we're actually just a little predecessor of this episode. We're gonna be having on Mark Emmeldorf, I think is his last name. Ellendorf,
Yep.
the funniest guy in the world I've ever met.
Dude, straight
2
up.
planets away, he's playing with James Woods, Formula 5 on the Switch, and we're just so excited to have him on. And just to be continuing supporting this. As always, thank you for tuning in. Just a couple plugs. Brandon Taz Nieder Hour at the Hollow, Albany on Friday.
That dude.
He's the best. And then you got Googs, just the first the opening party with Chestnut Grove on November 27th.
Go see them.
Please
They're amazing.
go see them. And then please go listen to Wild Adriatic's brand new album on all streaming services. And just give them a like and follow on every fucking social media platform they're on. But we're going to be listening to It Feels Right.
Right.
Thank
By
you all
Wild
for tuning in,
Adriatic.
guys. This has been the Mirth Films Podcast. Goodbye.
Have a great night.
If I knew you'd take your love away, I would've wrote you a song. Now you're leaving on a morning train when we've been at it so long. I should have made the most of this. I guess I got it all wrong. In the pain I feel, it only exists 'cause you. I want you in my arms again. If it feels right, don't you change it. Oh, I want you in my arms again. If it feels right, don't you change it. Oh. In time, I know the pain will heal. Still missing you in my arms. You said that we both need to grow. Can't help but stop when I